Hey, what's going on, everybody? Covering the Path of Exile live stream. Gonna be kicking off here in a few minutes. Definitely can't wait for this. See what they have to say. I don't know about y'all, but I'm definitely looking forward to December 6th. I love the countdown. I'm so ready for this. Let's see, make sure everything's all good to go. There's gonna be a minor delay on YouTube just because it takes a little bit to, do the whole crosshair switch over. And after us kind of going over the live stream for Path of Exile 2, we're gonna be switching over to Warhammer Online, and we're gonna be knocking out things from there. How many of you guys are going to be participating in the early access? That's my curiosity. My little curious question. A lot of big games going on. Is this one going to be your new the game? We'll see. Because I definitely leery about a few things, but I'm gonna sit back just like everybody else and just see what they're actually gonna say, and hopefully they're not gonna push anything further back, because that gives a little bit of bad certain vibes from a certain other game. So, all right, we just hit the 2-minute mark, and then we're gonna be kicking this off. So there's a little background on that. We got the 1-minute countdown. So we see what all's in store. Me personally, I'm looking forward to possibly utilizing my controller for the game. I think that'll be a good addition to the game. As far as movability and also using the WASD, I think that's going to be great. All right, we got 50 seconds left until we kick this sucker off. Cannot wait to see. At 25 seconds. Oh, let's go.
Sir, just what are we facing here?
A relic of the old world. Ready your men, Captain.
Turn this up just a little bit so y'all can hear. And I do apologize for any background.
When you hear the whispers,
hear the whispers. What do you think he was on about?
It's Dorman, right?
Yeah?
Then Dorman, shut your damn mouth. Why do I always get stuck with these rookies?
Hey, the kid's got a mean cleave. Give him a chance.
Quiet.
Yeah.
Sullen!
Damn.
A mean cleave, eh, Captain? Rookie can't even lift his own sword.
Captain be
Orin?
gone.
Captain? It's here. Rain! Send the signal!
What the fuck?
Rain! On my back will be blade up!
Come on, come on! I'm ready! I'm ready!
Shit.
It's a man!
No, it's not. Run.
Captain! Captain!
Wow. That's crazy.
Humanity isn't ready.
On your feet, lad.
Sir, the captain,
You'll be fine. Here.
Oh shit.
What is this?
Oh wow.
Get the body.
Stop. Mortal. It can still be contained. You don't know what you have unleashed.
Your kind no longer control this world. We cannot destroy your body, it's true. But you will watch as we destroy everything you have built. Bind him! Feed. Grow, my child. I'll make sure you can eat your fill.
The fuck, man, that's jacked. That's awesome.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Now, Path of Exile 2 is going into early access in around 2 weeks on December the 6th. But even though it's early access,
Hey,
this isn't
what's
just some
going
small
on, man?
taste. The game is huge. In this live stream, we're going to be introducing everything you can expect. So without further ado, let's roll the gameplay trailer.
Existence is a thing of beauty, precious, but impermanent. Life and death are mortal enemies, and yet bound to one another.
So what question do you have, brother?
Life must be protected at all costs. Some have said my methods are brutal. To this, I say, there can be no salvation without sacrifice.
Jesus. I think the monk's gonna be brutal.
We are faced with the end, and I will do what I must.
These bosses look tight.
Those who obsess with death, let them soon be acquainted with it.
Now, as you just saw, even in early access, Path of Exile 2 is a big game. It's actually been 5 years since we announced PoE 2, and over that time we've revealed a lot, but it's been in bits and pieces. It's pretty hard to keep track of it all, so today we're going to do a full rundown of all the content that will be available at the start of early access. Classes, character progression systems, and for the first time, a full overview of the end game. This is going to be a big one, so get comfortable. For 20
hell yeah.
years, Rayclast has been free from any sources of corruption, but the Count of Ogham, tempted by promises of power, intends to harness it once more. The dead are rising, monsters are mutating, and madness is spreading. Under the dark influence of corruption, the Count doles out sentences of death to any who would question him. And this is where you find yourself at the start of PoE 2.
Oh, nice.
Explore the dark forests of Ogham. Traverse the barren plains
Oh, come on now.
of the Vasteri Desert, and delve into the jungle ruins of Exile, an ancient Vaal city. There are challenges.
Oh, Twitch is having some problems here.
Challenging monsters, hidden runes, lost camps and treasures, roaming merchants, and of course, unique bosses. No two areas are the same. It falls to you to track down the seed of corruption, the source of all this devastation. On the way, you'll face fearsome monsters, meet strange characters, forge unlikely bonds, and uncover lost civilizations. But first, you'll need to pick a class. Now, early access will initially have 6 classes available. Let's have a look at them. The Monk is a fast and furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat and has mechanics that involve building up and keeping momentum. Like all classes in PoE 2, you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos. To get
Come on there. Come on, Twitch. Hang in there.
new skills,
I know
you'll
there's a
first need to
bunch of
find
people
skill
watching.
gems. Using a skill gem will open the gem cunning menu, which shows all the active skills available in PoE 2. You can choose an existing
Yeah, I can see that they're having technical difficulties. Oh God. See, that's not a good sign, guys. That's not a good sign. Oh wow. No. God. Well, it definitely couldn't be the amount of people because there's only what? Well, I say only. It's 175,000 people's watching. So. Lord. Let me see, man, I'm seeing nothing but Blizzard fix. Oh my God. Jeez. That's not cool. See, that's what I was kind of afraid of, is they were gonna link Blizzard with this GGG stream, just because of the pushback in time periods. I don't know. So Dark, what was your question, my friend? Oh, never mind. We back at it.
Precious.
I guess they're skipping ahead.
Power intends to harness. There are 21 active skills for quarterstaves, so this just scratches the surface of the options that you have. By endgame, you'll be dashing from pack to pack, spewing where you find yourself at the start of PoE2.
Oh my God.
Explore the dark forests
Come
of
on, guys. Get it
the
together.
barren plains of the Vasteri Desert, and delve into the jungle ruins of Exile, an ancient Vaal city. There are challenging monsters, hidden runes, lost camps and treasures, roaming merchants, and of course, unique bosses. No two areas are the same. It falls to you to track down the seed of corruption, the source of all this devastation. On the way, you'll face fearsome monsters, meet strange characters, forge unlikely bonds, and uncover lost civilizations.
That's kind of wicked.
But first, you'll need to pick a class. Now, Early Access will initially have 6 classes available. Let's have a look at them. The Monk is a fast and furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat and has mechanics that involve building up and keeping momentum. Like all classes in PoE2, you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos. To get new skills, you will first need to find skill gems. Using a skill gem will open the gem cutting menu, which shows all the active skills available in PoE2. You can choose an existing skill to level up, or choose to engrave a new one. Since this is a level 7 skill gem, even if you pick a new skill, it will immediately be level 7, so there's no harm in trying out something new.
Oh wow.
The Monk primarily uses the quarterstaff. There are 3 schools of martial arts: lightning, ice, and wind. But don't think you have to stick to just one. The best combos are going to involve mixing elements of all 3.
Right.
Let's try Killing Palm. Like many monk skills, this can be used to quickly take advantage of a specific situation. If there's an enemy on low life, you can use Killing Palm to dash to them and kill them instantly. This will provide a power charge. Then we could use a different skill to consume that power charge for a much more devastating attack. The Monk also has powerful combo skills. Tempest Bell, for example, is a skill that places a giant resonating bell. Hitting the bell causes it to ring, dealing damage to all enemies around.
That's like D3.
You can also do things like freeze or shock the bell, which will add elemental damage to the strikes.
Well, at least in D3 you
The
couldn't
Monk
do
also
that.
has a variety of abilities to empower his
But you
staff.
would drop the bell.
If an enemy is close to being stunned, you can use Staggering Palm to punch them down. After that, any attack you do will shoot out wind projectiles. There are 21 active skills for quarterstaves, so this just scratches the surface of the options that you have. By endgame, you'll be dashing from pack to pack, spewing projectiles and obliterating screens of enemies with huge combo attacks. Now, if you like a style of melee that's a little slower but hits much harder, then the warrior is for you. He pounds the ground with big chunky attacks and can shrug off the hits of small enemies with large amounts of armor. Even though the mace slams are slow, you never lose control. Longer attacks can be retargeted as you go, and if you find yourself committed to a long attack, you can dodge roll out of it at any time. Among the skill option for maces, you will find a variety of slams, fire attacks, war cries, and shield skills. Here, I'm going to slam the ground, rending it apart with lines of fire. Any slam skill will then cause these fissures to erupt with lava. I can even run through them with a skill like Stampede to do huge amounts of damage.
Nice.
The warrior can also use war cries, which can empower your next skill. Seismic Cry, for example, will double any slams from your next attack. The Stampede counts as a slam, so I can double that for even more craziness. If you want to go a little faster and be a little more defensive, equip a shield. In PoE 2, you can raise your shield at any time to block all damage from the front, even spells. While holding up your shield, your stun meter will build as you take damage, so be careful. If it reaches 100%, your stance will break and you will be vulnerable. Some enemies also have unblockable attacks, which are indicated by this red flash. If you see one of these coming, make sure to dodge out of the way. Using a shield also gives you access to shield skills, like Shield Charge, which allows you to charge towards enemies and stun.
Ooh, I like that.
While charging, you're also blocking the whole time, so you have full damage immunity from the front. The warrior also has access to totems. Some totems have built-in abilities, like Shockwave Totem, which can be placed to stun nearby enemies and trigger aftershocks like those from the earthquake. But you can also get ancestral warrior totems, which allow you to use any slam skill in your repertoire. This is a meta skill, which means that it's a skill you can put other skills into. I can take a slam like Sunder and socket it into my ancestral warrior totem. Now when I summon him, he'll sit there and slam the monsters from a distance. There are 20 active skills for maces, so there's a lot more to try out. But by endgame, you're going to be dropping hammers from the sky, leaping fearlessly into combat, and separating the very earth you stand on. Time for some ranged attacks. The ranger is primarily about the bow, but we wanted to make sure that she feels agile as well. In PoE 2, you can shoot while moving. Combined with all the skills the ranger has that allow you to jump around, you will have a lot of mobility in combat.
I mean, I like the ranger, so.
Bow skills have a variety of lightning, poison, ice, and physical attacks. Lightning attacks bounce around between targets. You can also stick lightning arrows in the ground which explode when hit by the bouncers, or electrocute enemies to take them out of combat. Ice attacks allow you to slow and freeze enemies to keep them away from you. Using poison, not only can you slowly damage your enemies from afar, but also grow some interesting plants. With 21 bow skills and all the mobility and combo tools the ranger has, you can take advantage of every situation. By endgame, you'll be creating hundreds of arrows, be they falling from the sky, bouncing around between enemies, or spraying out of tornadoes.
Beautiful.
You might have noticed in the bottom left of the screen that the flask slots look a little different. In PoE 2, you have one dedicated life flask slot and one mana flask slot. Flasks gain charges as you kill enemies, and typically allow you to heal 6 or 7 times if they're full. But that's not the only thing you can use charges for. Charms are a new item type that will automatically defend you from various debuffs or damage types. Having trouble with getting frozen?
Anything.
Equip a Thawing Charm. When it's fully charged, it will make you immune to freeze for 3 seconds if you get frozen. To recharge them, just kill more monsters. You can gain more slots for charms by upgrading your belt. The Mercenary wields a crossbow that can be loaded with different ammo types, offering versatility, power, and mobility. All classes in Path of Exile 2 can be controlled with WASD, which makes this class play exactly like a shooter. For the crossbow, you will find skills that work like shotguns, sniper rifles, assault rifles, and even grenade launchers.
That's
But
awesome.
Not only that, there are a wide variety of more interesting elemental ammos too. It's very fast to switch between ammo types, so long as you already have them loaded, which makes the Mercenary able to combo abilities together for devastating effect. Use Glacial Bolt to create walls of ice to separate enemies, then switch to Fragmentation rounds to explode the ice, dealing massive AoE damage. If I come across
Love
an
that, how
armored
you can
enemy,
interact.
I could use armor-piercing rounds to break their armor, and then high-velocity rounds to take them down. Or perhaps I could fire a gas grenade to poison
graphics.
enemies before detonating the cloud with an explosive shot for massive damage. If you want to call in some suppressing fire, you can summon artillery ballistas. These have a minimum
I
range,
like the
so you'll want to
ranging
prepare your
things.
position carefully before moving in. There are 22 active skills for crossbows. By endgame, you'll be calling destruction down from the sky as you litter the battlefield with grenades and pepper your enemies with your automatic shotgun. If you're looking to take a back seat and let your minions do the work, then the witch should be your choice. She can call forth hordes of undead monsters to fight for her while casting powerful chaos spells that debilitate her enemies.
He's probably going to be the #1 played.
Occult skills are some of the most varied in the game, with skeletons, noxious spells, specialty minions, curses, and sacrificial magic. Before we talk about minions, we'll have to talk about a new resource in Path of Exile 2 called Spirit. This is a spirit gem, which allows you to pick from a range of persistent skills. All classes have a variety of these skills which can add some very interesting effects, like Arctic Armor, which does cold damage to enemies that hit you, or Raging Spirits, which summon fiery skulls each time you cast a fire spell. For the Witch, though, we'll want to be using our spirit to create permanent minions. These minions will be revived automatically when they die, so you don't have to worry about resummoning them all the time. Here, I'm using the skill screen to allocate which minions I would like in my horde. You can see the spirit cost
Like
of
that.
each one. Skeletal warriors are cheap, but weak, useful for tanking damage and distracting enemies. But I want more heavy hitters in my army,
The one where
so
you
I'm
can
going to unsummon some
capture
warriors and instead add skeletal archers.
basically the essence.
Permanent minions come with special active abilities called command skills. You can order these guys to detonate your own minions for even more damage and area of effect. If you want a bigger army, you'll need a scepter. This new weapon type is imbued with even more spirit, allowing you to summon even more friends. And if you want an even bigger army than that, you can take advantage of corpses to summon true hordes of minions. But what can a witch do while her army is at work? Well, she has a range of chaos spells to spread disease amongst your enemies, or bone skills to impale them. Or, you could curse them to make them weaker so your horde can take them down. There are 25 active occult skills. By the endgame, you will be the leader of a fearsome army of the dead, consuming everything in its path. The sorceress bends the elements to her will, using them to unleash devastation on her foes. This classic spellcaster weaves a flurry of elemental
Nice.
magic from afar.
I like how you switch from fire
The
to
elemental skills have everything you
cold.
might expect and more. Fireballs, icy explosions, lightning storms, you get the idea. Each spell is unique and has many different ways to build and combo with others, even between different elements.
Ooh.
For example, Flame Wall conjures a burning line that not only damages enemies, but also empowers all projectiles that pass through it. If you place a wall and fire lightning sparks through it, they'll gain extra fire damage.
Oh, wow, nice.
It's a good idea to take
Very
advantage
cool.
of the ability to automatically swap weapons when you use certain skills. Having a special staff with bonuses to fire skills and another with bonuses to lightning skills can really power up a combo like this. The sorceress can also take advantage of powerful trigger gems. For example, you could grab the Cast and Ignite gem and use it with Firestorm. As you ignite enemies, a counter will go up in the top left corner. When it's full, a Firestorm will automatically be cast at the enemy that was ignited. There are
Oh, yeah.
25 active elemental skills. By endgame, you'll be firing off projectiles left and right as you rain down elemental storms on your foes.
Can't wait to work on new and exciting
those
builds.
are the characters that will be available at the start of Early Access, but we will be adding 6 more character classes with just as many skills and options as these. There's a lot more to come. There's one more important thing to mention about skills. Even though we talk about them as belong to each class, in reality there are no restrictions. You can use all these skills on any class so long as you have the attributes. For example, a Poison Ranger might want to try out using occult curses to increase her poison damage. Or a monk might want to trigger elemental ice walls to use with his Glacial Cascade combo. The possibilities for cross-class combos are practically unlimited. We're looking forward to what kind of things you guys might find. Now, Path of Exile is a game known for build customization, and we haven't even scratched the surface of what is possible yet. So let's talk about support gems.
Yes, please.
Path of Exile 2 has a system of support gems that can be combined with your active skills to dramatically change the way they work. If you find a support gem, then right-clicking it will open up this screen. Here you will find a variety of recommended support gems for each of your skills that you can pick between.
Oh, that's
For example,
nice.
this is a multiple projectiles support gem and can be used to add multiple projectiles to any skill. Normally, when you fire a grenade, it'll look like this. But if we add multiple projectiles, then you get 3 of them. Once you have the gem, you can also freely move it between any of the skills in your character. If you want to have a multi-shot sniper rifle instead, then simply move the gem over to your high-velocity round skill. Generally speaking, if it sounds like a support gem should work with a skill, then it will work. So it's a good idea to experiment.
Heck yeah.
Note that you can only have one of each support gem on your character,
so
you'll
wait.
want to think carefully about which supports can be used best with each skill for maximum damage.
Alright.
Now, if you want to stick to the recommendations, you should have a perfectly good time. But if you want to experiment a bit more, then uncheck that recommended button and you can see the full list of supports that will work with your skill. There are hundreds of support gems to choose from, and even we don't know the results of all the possible ways these can interact. Each skill can have up to 5 supports socketed into it, and if you're clever, you can come up with some pretty interesting ideas. Now, all of this is just scratching the surface. You can make frost vortexes, break people's armor, make minions explode, make skills repeat, make enemies set each other on fire, cull enemies, or pin them to the ground. Supports let you drastically change the behavior of your skills and create your own unique build, or at least follow someone's OP build guide. So, speaking of builds, let's talk about one of the most iconic Path of Exile systems, the passive skill tree. Yes, it's huge. There are over 1,500 nodes on there. Now, a lot of people open the tree and can get a little intimidated at first, but try not to be scared. There are lots of options, but at its core, it's pretty simple. Each level you get 1 point to put into the tree. Each class starts at a different location, but they all share the same tree. Around your section of the tree, you'll find relevant bonuses for your character. You should be safe in the knowledge that there aren't many wrong choices here. Almost all the starting nodes will be useful for your character in some way. But if you do happen to make a choice you regret, you'll be able to respec any nodes you've taken by spending a little bit of gold.
Oh, good. You can spend gold instead of freaking... Oh, hell yeah.
Now, the tree is generally divided up into clusters which have similar themes. In each cluster, you will find small nodes that give simple bonuses like increased damage, but the real power comes from notables. Notables normally have much more interesting bonuses, and they tend to care a lot more about how your build works and what skills you're using. For example, in the mercenary area of the tree, this one gives a 25% chance for crossbow skills to not consume a bolt. And here's one that gives grenades a chance to blow up a second time. This one gives a chance for projectiles to rebound off terrain, as well as giving you some pierce chance to make that more likely. Note that even though this is in the mercenary section, this would work with projectiles from all classes, so there are often reasons to go to different areas of the tree. In order to get between these clusters, you will generally have to allocate nodes in the attribute highways. Attribute nodes allow you to pick which attribute you would like to use, so it's very easy to get points for any attribute that your gear might need. You can change which attribute these nodes give you for half price at the respec vendor.
But as far as like the refund,
notables, you will also find
you have to have a certain item, and
keystones have both an upside and a downside, and often require.
And it just sounds like you can just use gold, you know.
A great example is Giant's Blood, which allows you to wield two-hand weapons in a single hand, but doubles the attribute requirements of them. You can use a two-hand mace with a shield, or even dual wield them. Or how about Mind Over Matter, which makes all damage go to your mana pool first before your life pool, but you lose 50% of your mana regen. Skills like these can be tough to build around, but if you're up for the challenge, they can be very rewarding. As we showed you earlier on the Sorceress, you can swap between weapon sets on the fly as you use certain skills. One of the new features in Path of Exile 2's passive tree is that you can choose to have your passive tree change as you switch between weapon sets to take advantage of specific bonuses on the tree. For the Sorceress, you might want to change between fire and lightning specialization.
I did not know that.
Or you could switch between one hand and a two-hand setup
I may have to
in order to be
reload.
able to block boss attacks while following up with heavy hits from your bigger mace. Or perhaps you could have a full curse setup on your witch to debuff enemies before switching to a chaos degen build for maximum damage. If you want to stick with just one weapon set, you can just use these specialization points as bonus points to invest however you like, but creative players will find plenty of opportunities with this system. You can get weapon specialization points throughout the campaign from optional bosses and quests. For example, if I manage to defeat the Crowbell, I'll get a weapon specialization book. There are lots of other permanent boosts available from the campaign
they're really
too.
prepping up for
On the map,
Path of
you can
Exile
see
2.
icons that indicate the many optional encounters
I may have to reload.
Some of them have permanent character boosts, and others have powerful items. If you're having trouble getting past a boss, it might be a good idea to explore and see what you can find. For example, if you defeat Blackjaw the Remnant, you'll gain a permanent
'Cause, I
increase
mean,
to
I
fire
had really no
resistance.
use for the gold, you know.
One of the most important finds are spirit bonuses. You can find the first one here in the canopy in Act 1. Defeat the boss in this area to acquire a permanent addition of spirit. The permanent buffs you gain from spirit are very powerful, and every class will find a use for them, so make sure you hunt down these upgrades. There's one in each act. Now, we haven't even talked about the most important element of character progression, items. That's why we're all here, right? Items in Path of Exile can be broken down into 4 rarity groups: normal, magic, rare, and unique. One of the things you're going to want to do as you play through the campaign is upgrade the items you find, and you can do that with currency items. An Orb of Transmutation will allow you to upgrade a normal item to a magic item with 1 mod. You can then apply an Orb of Augmentation to add a second mod, then use a Regal Orb to add a third mod, and upgrade it to a rare. Finally, you can use some Exalted Orbs to add more mods to your rare to a total of 6 mods.
Don't they
One of
already
the
have
things we
that?
think is really important is to make these options available to use as you play. All the items that add mods are much more common than they were in Path of Exile 1, so that you can use them throughout your campaign playthrough.
Oh.
We want you to find things on the ground that can be crafted into upgrades much more frequently. As well as making the drop rates on these items much more common, you can also get them by disenchanting unwanted gear at the magic item vendor. If you disenchant magic items, you can build up to an Orb of Transmutation, and by disenchanting rares, you can build up to Regal Orbs. Another important area of crafting items in PoE 2 is sockets. Some items you find will have sockets that can have Ezomite runes placed in them that add more mods to the item. If I insert this glacial rune into my helmet, it will give extra cold resistance. This is a great way to solve problems that you have with your build, like resistances or damage. If you find socketed items that you don't have a use for, you can take them to the salvage bench in town to work towards an Artificer's Orb. This will allow you to add sockets to your existing items. Body armors and 2-hand weapons can have up to 2 sockets, while the rest of your armor and 1-hand weapons can only have 1 socket.
Well, you
can
actually
also
have to go to
salvage
the
items with
armor
quality
to
create
get it
items
socketed?
like armor scraps or whetstones. These will allow you to increase the quality of your items for an up to 20% boost. If you don't want to
I just like
disenchant
doing
or
it on the
salvage your
fly.
items, you can always sell them for gold. Gold can be used to buy items from vendors, and we've tried to do a lot to make sure that the items they have for sale are actually useful. Every time you level up, they get more stock, so make sure to check back often. Other vendors offer a gamble. Pay a flat amount of gold and you'll get a random item of a specific type. This could be a great way to improve your gear, if you're lucky. Gold is also used to respec your passive skills. Take advantage of this system to experiment with your tree and rework it as required. The other thing you might want to use gold for is the currency exchange. This allows you to exchange currency items with other players on an open market, in exchange for a small gold fee. Now, all items in Path of Exile are freely tradable. We never bind anything to your character, except gold.
Yeah. Well, didn't you say that gold
Now,
was
most
open up
gear
for
in
trade?
Path of Exile 2 is
And then
randomly
now in
generated,
Path of
but
Exile
there's
2
another
it's
type
not.
that isn't. Uniques. They are especially rare, each with a handcrafted set of unusual mods which can dramatically change a character's build. They're not just better rare items, they can do much stranger things that can fundamentally change your character. Corpse Wade will make any corpses you run through explode into clouds of poison. The Sands of Silk is a body armor that changes your dodge roll into a blink, morphing you into sand as you teleport past your foes. And of course, some uniques are just pure hits of dopamine, like Quill Rain, which just turns your bow attacks into full auto by doubling your attack speed. Each unique is something that you can build your character around. We try to make sure that most unique items have a potential use at endgame, even if you find them early on.
Dude, that
As
armor
you can
looks
see,
badass.
every single unique item comes with custom art to match. The last character progression system that you can do during the campaign is Ascension.
Oh, you can't trade
Starting in Act
gold?
2, you will come across Ascension trials,
gotta
tests
trigger
that you must
in.
complete to unlock your Ascension class.
Easier to explain.
We'll explain these
Yeah, I
trials
hear you.
soon, but first let's take a look at what Ascending can do for your character. Each class has
Yeah,
access to
I was
3
actually gonna
Ascendancy
bring that
classes,
up. Give me
but at
a
the start of
holler,
early
dude.
access, only 2 per class will be available.
Give me a holler.
Ascendancy classes are unique to each character class, so choose wisely.
Let's
They
see.
can
Oh, I
drastically
missed the
affect
call,
how you
damn.
build your character.
My bus.
As a sorceress, you could become a Stormweaver, a master of the elements. Tempest Caller causes elemental storms to be summoned each time you do a critical hit with a spell.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
With
can hear you.
Strike twice, you can stack 2 copies of Shock
Figure
for
since
more
I know
damage.
a lot about
And going
this, if you
deeper
had
into the tree, you
questions,
can
I
make
can
all your damage
try
types
to
apply
help.
Shock.
All
Make a
right.
Shock build from any skill. Alternatively, you could become a chronomancer and command
This is
time
looking
itself.
nice though.
It
She
is.
literally has the ability to stop time with time freeze. Not only that, but she has many other time manipulation abilities. Using Temporal Rift, she
Turn
can
you up a
teleport
little
back
bit.
to a previous location, resetting her life and mana back to what it was. Or with Time
know,
Snap, she can reset all her cooldowns.
Yeah, they have an auction
cast all
house
her
now
spells
that's
again.
in game to where you don't have to go to the trade site.
On the
You
Warrior,
don't?
you can choose between the
Buy and
Warbringer
sell
or the
your
Titan.
stuff on there, but it
The
you gotta
Warbringer
use
channels the
gold
might
to
of his
do it.
ancestors to gain tremendous power.
So say you want to
Using
sell
Answered Call, you
200
can summon
chaos for one
ancestral
divine.
spirits linked to each of your totems.
to get the divine for
With
your
Jade
chaos, but it
Heritage,
costs gold to
you
do
can
it.
encase your body in a protective
Oh.
layer that absorbs all damage until it breaks.
And you can also use that same guy to respec your
Warcaller's
tree now.
Bellow
They
allows you
just
to
added that in
explode
the
the
last
corpses of your
expansion. The
enemies.
thing
And
that
with
I've been
Great Wolf's
playing.
Howl, you can
Yeah,
ignore
yeah,
the
yeah.
cooldowns of your war cries.
Down thing.
Let all
Yeah.
that anger out.
Also, I kind of like the one
The
at only
Titan
2
class is
socket
all about
max on
hitting big.
weapons instead of trying to get a
With
6-link
Earthbreaker,
socket.
every slam
or
is
Yeah.
just to
6-link
create an aftershock.
weapon.
With Crushing Impacts, every hit becomes a crushing blow, which will allow you to stun your enemies with ease.
I can't wait to see what
With
they're
surprising
gonna
strength,
have in during
you can
the
take advantage
beta.
of stunned enemies to deal 40%
Oh
more
yeah.
damage.
Well, they
Also, the
did
price is
say
only
that they're going to be
$30.
discussing
As a ranger, you might
in-game
choose to be
stuff
a
on
Jedi,
this,
an
which I was
expert
kind of
marksman
surprised. I
who can
wasn't
take down
expecting
foes
that.
with style.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have
With
in-game
endless
stuff in the beta
munitions,
already.
every attack
Not
needs an
all of
extra
it.
projectile.
But it
they're
only
gonna
goes to
have-
Act 3.
With Gathering Winds,
It goes
she
to
gains a
Act
small
3, and
increase
then
in
after
movement
that,
speed
they're
with
also
every
gonna have
attack.
in-game
But be
stuff in it
careful,
too for
she
the
loses
mapping.
them when getting hit.
Oh, okay, I
The
get
beta's
you.
only
With
in the
Eagle
early
Eye, she will
access
never
beta is only
miss, allowing you to
$30.
stop wasting all those passive
Yeah, I
points
saw
on
that.
accuracy. Alternatively, you could become a Pathfinder. The
I don't know
master
what I
of
want to
flasks
play. I
and
think I want to
poison.
play the sorcerer.
She can
or
choose from one of
the
several
bow.
throwable concoctions.
Dude,
allowing
you're
you
gonna
to
be the
spend her
bow.
flask
Stop
charges
it.
to throw explosive bottles that deal various types of damage. A bleeding concoction
The
will
two
make your
classes
enemies
I play
bleed,
the most
while a
is the
fulminating
bow
one
and
will
the
shock your enemies, allowing you to do extra damage. Contagious
Yeah, that monk
contamination allows
stuff.
her to spread
It
poison
kind of
between
reminded me
her
of
foes.
D3.
While overwhelming
Right, with the
toxicity
bow,
doubles the
except
number
for
of
how you
stacks
can
that
do
be
the
used.
You can
elements
utilize
off
the
of
that's the cool
Running
part.
assault allows her to move
Instead of
much
just
more quickly
dropping
while
the
firing,
bell.
while
Yeah.
relentless
It's nice
pursuit
to
makes
take
her totally
inspiration
immune to
from
being slowed by
everything and
enemies.
just
Oh, yeah.
add to it.
It's like just
The
pour a
witch can ascend
concoction.
into the Infernalist
what
or the
games should
Blood
do.
Mage.
Exactly.
As an
Take the good of it
Infernalist,
and
she can
add
summon
something
a loyal
to it.
Hellhound
Yes,
companion.
most
The
definitely.
Hellhound sets enemies
I'm
on
kinda
fire,
shocked with
as well
the-
as taking a percentage of the damage if the Infernalist gets hit. With
The
Pyromantic
flask
Pact,
though, there's
you
only
can
a
turn
health
your
and a mana
into
now.
infernal
You
Yeah.
can
flame.
have like a
As you
fire
cast more
flask that
spells,
gives you
the
fire
flame
res.
builds up.
Right.
If it overflows, you'll take damage.
I think they're
Using
trying
Bringer of
to
Flame, you'll want to make sure you keep the flames topped up.
less
While
complicate
your
things,
infernal flame is above 30%, all damage from you and your minions will ignite enemies.
which I think that's honestly a smart way to go.
She can also transform into a literal demon.
I think you
Oh,
want to
whoa.
play
While in
Necro.
demon form, she takes an increasing
You
amount
know
of
it,
damage.
bro.
Her
These
speed and damage
skills are
increase
so
rapidly
They're
as well.
freaking
So if you're
awesome.
planning on
They look
transforming into a
so
demon,
nice.
make sure you stack a lot of life recovery.
I saw them
She
when
can
they're
also become
on
a
your
blood
screen
mage,
when they're doing
a
that
master
lightning
of
stuff
life
all
and
over them.
energy.
I was like, oh
Oh,
man.
I know. That was like
Must pay the
bonerific.
price,
I was
making
sitting there, it's
skills
just like,
cost life as well as mana.
yes.
But in
I'll
exchange,
either be
every
the
monster they
Sork
kill will
or
drop
a
life
Necro.
rates,
So
which allow them to quickly gain back that life.
So this is their demonic
With
possession, one of
Crimson
the
Power, she can
ascensions.
gain large amounts
that
of
is
extra
pretty
life,
tight.
and with Vitality Siphon, she can use her spells to leech life back as well.
Oh,
Once you've got a
nice.
significant amount of life, you
like
can use
a-
Gore Spike to make your critical hits deal incredible amounts of damage.
Bone
A
Spear.
monk who is in tune with the elements might become an invoker. With elemental
much better
expression, the
version of
invoker
a
will
Bone
create
Spear.
waves of
Yeah,
elemental
Diablo.
power.
Oh,
which
yeah,
carries a critical
Diablo is
strike.
freaking.
With faith as a choice, you gain the ability to meditate, allowing you to double your energy shield.
Oh, nice.
Choose between I am the Blizzard or I am the Thunder to specialize in
I am the
cold or
Blizzard, or I
lightning.
am the Thunder.
And I Shall Rage will allow you to turn into an unbound avatar.
Elemental expression trigger.
Each time you apply a status
Melee
ailment to an
grip.
enemy, you gain Unbound Fury. When you have enough, transform into an avatar to deal way more damage and inflict even more elemental ailments. Some monks choose to reach into the darkness instead.
Ooh.
The Acolyte of Chayula can exchange their mastery of spirit for darkness, a resource that can be utilized to both absorb and deal
Man,
damage.
I won't lie.
The Shroud of Darkness
lot
will
of the
protect you
classes
from all
actually
damage
look
and
They're
combat.
looking
But
awesome.
if you take Grasp of
I don't
the
know about
Void,
the Marksman.
you will
I
deal
was
extra chaos
learning
damage
that
from
one,
all
but
the
I'm not sure
The
darkness.
what
marksman, I would have to run a
Their
controller.
Dark Pact offers greatly increased resistances to chaos damage and can allow their mana leech to not only happen instantly, but apply to their energy shield battlefield as well. Another node you can take is Waking Dream, which allows you to see into the domain of the Breach
Extra
Demons.
chaos damage for
There you will
20
see the
unreserved
flames of
targets.
Chayula that can be taken to gain life, mana, and damage.
Oh,
The mercenary has a job to do, but which job suits you?
Here's your favorite
You might
class.
choose to become a witch hunter.
This is the
Obsessive
monk.
rituals will give you a
I don't
sorcery
know.
ward, allowing you to defend yourself against elemental hits in
You can
exchange
be a
for
witch
less
hunter.
defense
Behind
against
on you.
attacks.
He
With
probably
Zealous
probably.
Inquisition, your enemies have a
'Cause on me,
10%
it's
chance
still
to
showing
explode
the
on
monk.
death.
Oh,
Well,
here we
Chances
go.
doubled against demons and undead. With Judge, Jury, and Executioner, your
Supposedly
initial hit
supposed to
against
get
enemies
some
can deal up to
item, too, for
30% of their life
watching
and
this.
damage, if you're lucky.
What's that?
This is great for hunting
Supposedly we're
powerful
supposed to get
bosses.
some type of
And
free
with Witchbait,
cosmetic too.
you
for
can break
engaging
your
Yeah,
enemies'
because
concentration,
on
preventing them
Twitch,
from casting spells as often as they
I
would
have the
usually
drops
do.
enabled, and
You could also choose to become a Gemling Legionnaire, enhancing your abilities by embedding gems
This is my
directly in your
character.
flesh.
What are you talking about? This is the
Integrated
marksman.
efficiency.
this
will
is
give
your
you
cat.
extra
That's why I
skill
said
slots.
it's yours.
Thermatological infusion gives you
I was
extra
being a
maximum
smart ass.
resistances as you sock up more
I mean,
and more
it looked
support
pretty
gems.
cool at first. I don't know. It just
Adaptive
feels.
capability allows
But
you to use
like I
any
said, I would
color
have
Their
to be on
gameplay it just
controller.
seems slower.
while crystalline
Yeah.
potential
Than
adds extra
all
quality
the other
bonuses
classes
to every
they're
gem
showing.
socketed into your character.
It's almost like you're
So
you're
those are
doing
the
like
ascendancy classes for the start of
That's a
early
lot of
access.
classes for the
One thing
start.
we haven't talked about yet
God.
is how you ascend in the
Yeah.
first place.
6 classes. They have ascensions.
Ascension and Path
Oh,
of Exile
Ascension
2
Trials
requires
is coming up.
completion of one of the great trials, which you'll find as you progress through the campaign. Each one is associated with one of the major cultures of Rayclast. Located in the Vasteri plains of the
Graphics and
Marrakech,
everything, man.
a
They're
culture of
beautiful.
rich tales and brutal traditions, who must do whatever it takes to survive in the desert. The highest position in Marrakech culture is a Sekima, and it is not a title given freely. All aspirants must complete the trial of the Sekimas,
basically
a
this is
grueling
like doing
gauntlet that will
labs.
test their strength, will, cunning, and patience. To enter, a warrior of the
Glad they
Marrakech
kept that,
must prove
makes
their
sense.
worth by trapping the soul of a djinn in a coin, and you are no different.
Wow.
this looks awesome.
Once you have earned your coin, it may be placed on the relic altar to
December
begin the
6th,
trial.
I cannot wait.
Right? When do they open it? Well, they haven't said.
Yeah,
In
I
the
don't
trial
know
of
when
the
it's
Seconds,
actually gonna come
each
out.
room has its own
I'll pay the
challenges to
$30. I
overcome.
mean, you'll get stuff.
Well,
this room
that's
is
what
ours
that's what I'm
early
looking
access.
for.
Its blood to the
Because like
chalice in the
I'm gonna
center of the
probably
room.
do that.
Once the chalice is filled,
So
you'll
I'll be
able to
playing
proceed.
at the start with you.
While fighting monsters
you
in the
gonna
trial,
do?
you will
Awesome.
need to be very
Yeah.
careful. Each hit will not only hurt you, but will damage your honor. The monsters are well
imagine how much
telegraphed, so that you can
customization
avoid their
of builds you
attacks,
can
but if you
do.
run out of
Oh,
honor,
I
you'll
know.
fail the
Fresh
trial
for
and need to
everybody
find another
too, so
coin
it's
in
not
order
like
to
you're
try
behind.
again.
Yeah,
is
see,
a
that's
good
what I
idea
was
to make
I was
sure
looking
you're
for. That's why I didn't
well prepared
even
for challenging
touch
the trial of the
anything with
Seconds.
the Path of Exile 1. No need.
Getting in it
After
early.
each room, you will be
Yeah.
rewarded. In this case, you have been given a key that can be used to unlock chests later in the trial.
I'll be
Once you have
focusing
claimed your
more. I'll be
reward,
following.
you will be shown a
builds,
map
but
of the rest of
as
the
far as
floor, and
I'll
may
be
choose how
focusing
you
on
wish to
trying to find
proceed.
good farming.
Which challenges would you like
You know
to
Yeah.
me.
face,
That's what I
and
like
which
to do. Is
rewards do
farming
you want to
strats.
claim?
Yep.
Some rooms are more dangerous,
You know me. I'll be
afflicting you with debuffs for
shaking
the
and
rest of the entire
yeah, I'm
trial.
a build.
For example, entering this room will afflict you with spiked
So if
shell
you're watching
that will
my
cause
stream,
all
guess
monsters
what?
in the
I'm gonna
rest of the
be
trial to have 50% increased life.
slow, methodical, but
You'll
I'm
want to take
also
care
going to
if you
be
choose such a
very
path.
thorough on different
There are
things.
many different challenges and
We
rewards
also
as you
have a
journey through
guild.
the
You
trial.
guys can all join.
Deadly traps,
Most definitely.
waves of monsters,
That we do. We have
and
a home
strange
for you.
artifacts will test your
What is
honor.
this?
As you progress, you'll be able to gain boons from the djinn, which will help you on your journey.
Oh,
For
this is for
example,
the
the
trial?
Sekima's cloak will revive
Oh,
you
this
once
is
if you
kinda
die,
crazy.
giving you a
Yeah.
second shot at a run.
Oh,
One of
you
the
get a
rewards
second
you may
shot.
find is
What?
sacred water, an
get a
extremely
reward
valuable
that
and
can
treasured
drop
resource
sick.
to the djinn and the
I like how
Marrakech.
you can have a second
Trading it with the
chance.
djinn will allow you to receive
Well, that's
many
if
benefits.
you get the boon.
You can recover honor,
thing for
gain
it.
Yeah.
additional boons,
The
or
reward.
remove afflictions.
But just having
At the end of the floor,
ability
you'll find
to
a
do that,
powerful
that's
boss.
awesome.
I know.
Truly
Actually, I
test your
kind of like how they
limitations.
have the
order
rewards
to
now,
ascend,
unlike
you will need to
PoE1,
defeat
where you go through. I mean, you can find the dark shrines that give you some bonuses.
Right.
This, but it looks like as soon as you finish the floor, you get to pick a reward.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like
Having
Sanctum
defeated the
right here.
boss, you've earned the right to ascend. But first, the loot.
This is just like freaking
The
before
keys you have found
with
may
the
be
loot.
used to open the various treasures in the vault at the
But-
end of the floor.
But if you ever
Ooh,
play
that's a
Sanctum,
lot more options.
This
So we'll just
really
have to
reminds
open one
me
of these small
Sanctum.
chests.
Like
If you want to open the better ones, you'll need silver or gold keys.
that layout,
use the altar
picking
ascendancy.
rewards and
Your
everything.
first ascension will allow you to pick your class
Wow,
and
look at
grant
all
you
those
2 points to
rewards.
use in the
Yeah,
trade.
I know, right?
Now there are more floors and many
I'm a
more
little bit
rewards
delayed
that
for
can
that.
be
Is a
found within the
lot of
trial of the
rewards.
Sekimas, but we'll save that for the section on the endgame. For now,
Oh,
let's
just
talk
wait.
about the second ascendancy trial, the Trial of Chaos. In Path of Exile 2, you can choose whichever trial style you like to earn your ascension.
This
Each
is
culture
awesome,
on Raycast
dude.
had their own methods to ascend. If the Trial of the Sekimas is not your kind of playstyle,
So they
or you're
don't have
finding it
all
too
three
difficult, you could try
ascendancies yet,
another.
it doesn't look.
You can gain all your
Based
ascension
on that,
points
it
with
looks
just
like it
one,
only had
or mix and match
two
them.
of them you
It's
can
up to
choose
you.
from.
For early access,
Yeah.
we'll have two
Okay,
trials
that's
as
third
options, with a third trial coming
Because you
later for the
actually get
full
3
release.
ascendancies per
While
character.
exploring the Vile
Mhm.
jungle, you'll discover the Temple of
And
Chaos.
on that screen, they only showed
Before the
2.
Vile embraced the
Yeah,
science of corruption,
this
their
should be-
civilization worshipped chaos.
Oh,
This
that's
ancient
oh
trial
my
was
god,
once
that's
used by
awesome.
the
I
Vile to
can't wait
test
to
their
see
high
it.
priests. A high priest of
is
the
so
Vile
cool.
will show willingness to
view
risk
looks
everything to
beautiful
gain
with the
power.
I know.
Entry to the trial requires a token from a strange entity known only as the Trial Master. For those in which he sees potential, he shall inscribe an ultimatum. Many have attempted these
Nice.
trials in search of greatness. Most have perished. Will you be able to defy the odds? Before you begin each chamber, the Trial
Yes,
Master
we
will
will.
offer you a reward and a choice.
They have him
Choose
in
one
the
of
game.
3
We will
tribulations to
defy
affect
the
you through the
odds
rest of the
together.
trial. These
kinda
modifiers
crazy how
might
they
beef up the
have
monsters, curse the
this
player,
guy like
or
this
add
now.
environmental hazards like turrets.
Well, on
or
a
trap
good note,
rooms.
since this is what I do
In this case,
now,
we'll be picking shocking turrets.
freaking, we can just like straight up binge on this.
As you enter the
'Cause
room, the
before I
Trial
had to
Master
jump
will
off all
fill
the
up with
time.
hazards to test your commitment.
Right? And
In
you know,
this
I'll
case,
be
you
on
must
it
destroy all the
constantly.
monsters that
You
fill the
already
room.
know.
Well,
Deal with
trust
the
me,
lightning
I
bolts
will
from
be
the shocking
too.
turrets.
I've been just playing Black Ops 6 right now, zombies
Yeah.
and stuff. I mean, I've been on PoE 1 too.
That is beautiful. See, yeah, if I play him, oh my god, I will have to play it on controller.
I think it would probably be easy on your mouse and keyboard.
I mean, just as far as
After
like
each room, you will need
for
to make
me,
a choice.
so I don't
Take the
me,
rewards
I
you've
don't
earned
screw
so
it up
far,
on the
or go
keyboard.
double or nothing. Increase your rewards.
It's clear.
Take on more risk.
This button goes for
Each
this.
tribulation you add is minor on its own, but they quickly stack
But
on top of
see,
each other.
they
and
don't
can
even
become
have W.
overwhelming.
They have W as one of the skills, and Q
I
as one of
know.
the skills.
Yeah, that's why
I'm
they're
not-
saying.
I'm gonna
chambers in
set
the
mine up just like
Each will
PoE
test your
1. I'm
resolve
not
in
gonna
different
use
ways.
YC.
This
I'm
one
gonna
simply
use click to
requires you
move.
survive
Click to
for a certain
move.
amount of time. Another requires you to escort the stone idol through the level as elevators full of
Oh
monsters
god, I
descend
hate
to attack
escort
you.
quests.
Should you be able to get through the first 3 chambers, you will face your first boss. The order of the bosses is
crazy.
random,
This is the
and
last
combined with the
trial?
tribulations you have selected, the fight will never feel the same.
Look at that boss. is pretty
After defeating the boss, you may claim your rewards. Of course, there are the items, but you also gain the
Man,
right
they
to
make
ascend.
these trials are so much cooler.
If you already did
Yeah.
the trial of the second
I
you
agree.
can claim 2 more points to add to your ascendancy class.
The bosses and everything
Now
are
it's
so
possible
much,
to go much
like,
deeper. There are more bosses, rewards, and risks to take, but we'll talk more about that when we get
Oh,
to
here we
endgame.
go, endgame.
So how about we talk
Game
about that now?
structure.
So far, we've only been showing you footage from the campaign. But some
Endgame
people
is
would
where it
argue that the
begins.
endgame is where the game truly begins. Something that happens almost every time a new action RPG comes out, people saying, there isn't enough endgame content.
Hey, I appreciate you, buddy.
Well, we want to make sure that in PoE 2, people don't feel that way. And we actually only changed our development priority for this recently. The first 3 acts of PoE 2 already take around 25 hours to complete if you're a new player. This is already a pretty significant campaign. On the other hand, people spend hundreds of hours in endgame each league. We realized that finishing the rest of the campaign for early access was actually a bad idea. Instead of having acts
Oh,
4
I
to
can't
6 in
wait.
early access, we could concentrate on endgame and make that great.
Oh wow.
For new players, a
1 to
25-hour
45.
campaign is already a huge game with lots of content. But for existing action RPG players, what you mostly care about is all the in-game challenges to overcome.
Of course.
So several months ago, we switched the entire development team's focus over to making in-game content.
50
At the start of
bosses,
early access,
400
there'll be 50 bosses.
This
and
looks
around 400
awesome.
monster types. But the great thing is that the rest of the game is like 80% there. We'll be adding
Double.
content to roughly double the size of the game during early access and into release. Now, in order to make the endgame happen at the same character level as what it would be after we added the rest of the acts, we've added a second difficulty level called Cruel, where you repeat the campaign with all the monsters and bosses leveled up. And of course, new rewards. You can kind of think of it as like a new game plus. It's also a lot faster to get through the content the second time as your clear speed increases. That will take you to around level 65, where the endgame begins. Once we add the remaining 3 acts, we'll be removing Cruel difficulty.
Oh,
So you'll
nice.
progress straight from the end of Act 6 to endgame. But
I like
what
the
is
way
the
they're
Okay,
doing
so you
that.
go through
To
once, you
explain
go
that,
through
I'll hand
again
over
on
to Mark.
Cruel,
Yeah.
and
He
then
can tell you all
you
about
do
it.
maps.
And then as soon as on release
Hi,
they get rid
I'm
of
Mark
Cruel.
Roberts, Game
So
Director
that's cool.
on Path of Exile 2. Well, one thing that Path of Exile is known for is having a lot of distinct in-game content to choose between. Each in-game mechanic needs to have its own progression system, areas, bosses, rewards, and player power that can only be gained from that content. We are going to be adding a lot more over time, but for Path of Exile 2 we decided to start with 7 distinct systems you can progress through.
This is the Atlas, and it serves as the core of the endgame for Path of Exile 2. It's infinite and expands in all directions. Now, we are not going to spoil the plot too much here, but corruption from the beast has blighted the land, and your objective is to help fight it. In the center of the Atlas you will find the Ziggurat, a temple in which the Vaal research the fundamentals of space and time. Here, we can open portals to nearby locations and begin cleansing corruption and finding resources. In order to power the portal device, we will need waystones. Each waystone has a tier which will determine the level of the monsters that you will face. To go to an area, simply click one that is adjacent to an area that you have already completed. Insert the waystone and click Traverse. Portals will open, allowing you and your party to travel to the area you have selected. All the areas in the endgame feel distinct from the locations in the campaign, and we have dialed the randomization up to 11. The monster packs you will face in each map are totally random, and the combination of them can lead to some very interesting combat situations. There are over 400 monster types in early access, and they have a lot of varied and interesting abilities. Depending on which combinations you face, you might find some serious challenges. In order to cleanse the corruption from the area, you will need to defeat all the powerful rare and unique enemies in it. Once you have done that, the area will be marked as completed and you will be able to travel past it to progress deeper into the world. If you die, then the map can no longer be run, and you will have to find another way around to get to the areas behind.
I love it so much.
There are also all kinds of other random encounters you might run into as you play maps. One such encounter are precursor artifacts. These are ancient, corrupting monuments that irradiate the monsters around them. The monsters that feed off the corruption are drawn to their power. If you defeat the monsters and cleanse the artifact, you will get a powerful temporary buff. Some of the buffs make you faster, others rain lightning or fire around you, and some even give you increased experience or help you find better items. You can also find strong boxes. These enigmatic chests guard piles of treasure, but are always a trap. Monsters lie in wait to attack you the moment you open it, and the boxes often have mechanisms to unleash powerful spells or dangerous debuffs. There are different types of strong boxes containing different items, and you can even use your currency items to craft them on the fly, so you can optimize the content. But be careful of opening one you can't handle.
Man, that torch looks awesome.
Sometimes you'll discover monsters frozen in essences,
monsters,
solidified
strong boxes.
crystalline corruption.
They're bringing back a lot of stuff from
If you
UE,
defeat
so.
them, the essence they drop can be used to upgrade normal items to magic items with a guaranteed mod from a category.
They look so much cooler now, though.
Oh, yes, most
For
definitely.
example, we could use this one on some boats to ensure a
35%
movement
increased
speed
movement?
mod.
Think
Rarely,
most you get
essences will
now is
also
like
drop that
30.
allow you to upgrade magics to
you can
rares,
get a
adding the
5%
guaranteed mod.
extra.
This is incredibly powerful, since it allows you to get a second deterministic mod in your crafting projects. Combining these with the currencies
This
that are
is
commonly
awesome.
found in Rayclast for
I
modifying
love what
items,
they've done so far.
and we can get a very nice pair of boots indeed.
They didn't start the stream off that well, though.
Waystones, like all items,
That
can also be
start was kind of a little
They
rough.
got what? 161,000, almost
Adding
162,000
prefix mods
people.
will improve the rewards,
Yeah.
while suffix mods increase danger.
Well, some folks.
Edges,
The more
edges
dangerous a map
jumped
is, the
to
more waystones will
165.
drop.
Yeah,
Adding
let me
mods to
see.
your waystones is key
Well,
to
we
progressing to higher
100,
tiers
yeah,
and
165.
sustaining
Yeah,
them.
you're
But
right.
it will require you to take on larger
I
challenges.
figured since we're on mic now, we can both watch
there
the
are a
actual
variety
screen
of
that's
factors
going.
you have to consider when crafting
I
your
still have
waystones.
yours on
Some
the
maps will
background.
have higher
Oh,
density,
that's cool.
some lower, some have
So
more
we can
magic and
converse
rare
about
chests
what's
or
currently going
monsters.
on.
Some are more
I'm not having
linear
delay.
and others more open. Make sure you explore and think
I
about
like,
what
but I
makes
didn't
certain
like
maps
some of the
good
stuff
if
that
you
I saw
want
with
to
the
maximize
warriors.
your
So.
returns. As you cleanse corruption from higher and higher tiers of the Atlas,
I'm not
you
big
will
on the
gain
warrior
points that you can
classes
spend
even in
in the
PoE
Atlas
1.
tree. This tree allows you to juice the danger
He
and
looked too
rewards
clunky,
of all
you
areas
know?
in the endgame.
Like,
You could increase the
super
number of
clunky.
monsters, the number of rares, the
Nobody's
number
gonna
of
wanna
precursor
play
artifacts
clunky.
or strong boxes, even the quantity of item drops.
Well, not no
This
one, but
map is crazy.
As you explore the
so you don't
in-game
just
world,
grab
you'll
maps,
notice
you just
various different
can go into
biomes.
them.
yeah,
From
that's
snow-capped
awesome.
mountains to dense jungle valleys. Most maps are restricted to certain biomes.
Because as soon as you unlock, you can bypass.
The Atlas, there are all sorts of things
you
to
fight
discover.
a favorite one, you just
These
farm
cities
it.
are
Exactly.
constructed by different
That's awesome.
peoples of Rayclust and have specific items that can be found there.
Oh, and some of
These
them
strange
have stuff
structures marked
after.
on the map don't appear to do anything for now. Perhaps you'll work out how to use them later.
642
You might find unique maps
experience.
like Untainted Paradise, an undisturbed island full of beasts
Nameless
that give an
Soul.
extreme amount of experience. You
Oh,
may
that's
even find a
wicked.
lonely man just
the
enjoying his
seer, Nameless
retirement
Seer.
who will give you a unique item for free. In addition, you can find special areas that would make a good spot to set up camp. Clear these areas of their hostile inhabitants, and you'll
You
be
can
able
make
to
your
claim
hideout
them as your own hideout.
Mm.
You can decorate your hideout as you see fit, and invite various NPCs
I wonder how
to
the
join
guild
you there
hideout
to create your
hideout's
own
gonna
personal
the
base of
options is gonna be
operations.
for it.
I don't know.
A great
Man.
tool for
It'll be
exploration are
awesome.
towers. These
I'm
are
so
various
looking forward to
precursor
it.
constructs are dotted around the Atlas.
How much stuff are they
Completing the
putting
tower
into
will
this?
reveal a large
Well, he said
area
it was
around
massive,
allowing you to
remember?
scout out your next
And
challenge.
this is only, he
There
said
are
this
lots
It's
is
of
only
part
the
of it,
first
and then
three.
so
When the
keep
next
looking.
part comes out, it's got. He
Some
said this is
sections
gonna
of
look
your
like
atlas
nothing.
are influenced
Yeah.
by corruption. This
And
adds
this is a
extra
lot.
modifiers to
It
the
is
maps
a
in the
ton.
region, increasing difficulty and rewards. Here,
Man,
slaying
D4,
monsters in
what the
close
heck?
proximity to each other will cause the vestiges of corruption within
Well,
them to merge
yeah.
together, forming powerful and grotesque abominations. You may have noticed while looking at the Atlas that some of the areas have these icons above them. The icon indicates that the area
Special
contains some
encounters.
kind of special encounter. This
Yeah.
icon indicates that the area has a powerful boss. Because only 1 in 4 maps contain a map boss, we are
Say
able
1
to
in
make them
4
very
maps?
powerful
Yeah,
and
1 in 4.
very rewarding. These bosses come from the campaign, but have had their difficulty
different.
increased
Normally
with
every map
changes
has
to
one.
AI and some
Right.
of their abilities.
I think they're just,
It's worth noting that
I wonder
because
if
you can
it's gonna
see
be
where the
a-
bosses
just a
are,
random
you can choose to take
pop.
them on or avoid them. If you do choose to hunt bosses though, then you will be rewarded with special points for the boss hunting section of the Atlas skill tree. The points here will allow you to specialize
nice.
in boss killing, giving you
That-
much greater
That's
rewards for
really
defeating
man. We're gonna be boss hunting like a motherfucker, by the way.
each different type of content in the endgame, we are adding specialized trees in order to make it so you don't feel the need to respec your points when you change between different types of content. We will be showing you 7 of these by the end of this presentation, so there is still a lot more to come. Bosses are not the only icon you will see on the Atlas. Let's take a look
Breach.
at one of the in-game systems.
Yeah, that's pretty
Breach.
awesome.
Yeah, I know
If you
this
played
one.
PoE 1, you might be familiar with Breach. For PoE 2, we have created sequels to several PoE 1 leagues. While the mechanic is familiar, the monsters,
say
bosses,
leagues?
rewards,
Multiple?
and progression
Plural?
are all new. A breach is a
Yeah,
tear
they're
in the
bringing
fabric
in a
of
lot
reality.
of the stuff that
Opening it
people
will allow you
liked
to
and
see
did.
the demons and
That's
otherworldly
perfect.
monstrosities that lie in wait on this
like
other
you
plane
said,
of
the
existence.
monsters and everything
By
are gonna be
engaging
different.
with
The
the breach,
rewards.
you'll create a bridge between their
Right.
world and Rayclust. In order to keep the breach open, you will need to kill the demons that pour forth. The faster you can kill the monsters, the more monsters you will fight, and the more loot you will find. You can also find class
Breach
tabs that
ring,
will
that's
open
a
and drop
normal.
more items if you run over them. These can be a good boost to the rewards of the breach, so keep an eye out. One of the rewards that you may find while fighting monsters from Breach are tablets. Tablets are special items that can be used with precursor towers to add more encounters to the Atlas. Breaches will drop breach tablets. Clicking on a completed tower will allow you to consume the tablet to add more breaches to areas within range of the tower. This makes
Nice.
all the content in the Atlas self-sustaining. Want to do more breaches? Find the tablets, add them to your towers,
Oh,
get more
nice.
breaches,
That
getting
is
more
awesome.
tablets. Soon your Atlas will be covered in otherworldly domains. In addition, like all items in PoE, you can craft them. Use your
And you
currency
can
to
add
add
mods
mods
to
to
the
your
tab-
tablets.
God.
allowing you to
That's
upgrade all the
awesome,
breaches in
dude.
range.
Holy
Tablets
crap.
can have up to 2 mods.
And this is just
These
for the
mods do
breaches
things
part.
like adding
Right.
extra rare
Evidently, I'm
monsters,
guessing if you do
extra class
SSs, you'll get
hands,
tapped
or
because
even
it could be
monster
for
density
whatever
of
you wanna
breaches, allowing
farm.
you to keep them open
Yeah.
longer. Often you will find multiple towers
Oh,
near
then
to
you
each
can
other
overlap 'em?
with overlapping areas of effect. This
So
can
you
allow
just
you
stacked
to
all
really
3 of
juice
those
the
together,
mechanic
so they're
by
gonna get all
stacking the
those?
mods from multiple tablets. In your fight to hold the breach demons at bay, you may want to use the powers of their world against them. Each in-game mechanic always has player power that can only be gained from that mechanic, and Breach is no different. In Breach, you will find catalysts, items that can increase the quality of
quality
rings
stuff.
and
I
ammunition
know.
by improving specific mobs. You can also find Breach Rings, a special base type that can have its quality improved by catalysts up to 50%. In this case,
wow.
you could create a ring with around 170 life. Breach rings can become some of the strongest rings in the game, giving you some good motivation to face the demon hordes. In addition, each endgame mechanic needs to have a pinnacle endgame encounter. While killing breach monsters, you may find breach splinters. Collect enough of these and you'll be able to create a breach stone. Using a Vaal technology called the Realm Gate, you can use your breach stone to access their domain and bring the fight to them. In this twisted domain, you will find nothing but a single massive breach. Triggering it will reveal hordes of breach inhabitants. You probably gotta get to the end of it
so you can fight the boss.
Truth.
That's how it works in the normal. So.
Oh, did you see that movement? Oh my god.
Fast enough, you will be able to fight their leader, Zesht. We that are one.
We that dreamed. We in nightmare.
Oh, that is awesome.
That hand
That's a hand,
that
yes.
thing?
The
That's
hand.
what we're getting.
Yeah. Now it all makes sense. That's pretty tight.
We both got out of that right away.
Yep, it was like, bam. There you are. Look at that.
This is just one of the pinnacle encounters of PoE 2. We won't be showing the rest of them, so you will have to discover them for yourself.
Oh, I can't wait.
This is some of the hardest content we have ever made. All of these encounters have specific uniques that can only be found from them, but that's not all. We still
That's
have
a lot
the
to dodge.
progression
That has a
Defeating
progression
Zesht will
system
give you
for
points to
itself.
allocate into the breach section of the Atlas tree. Allocating these points will make breaches and the breach domain even harder.
I see.
but
So
will
instead
give you
of having
more
to switch your,
rewards.
that's what
the
they meant by
small nodes will
so you
increase the
won't switch your
difficulty of the
atlas.
twisted domain.
Right.
You just
while the
do
large
what you
nodes
like,
have
and
more
they each
specific
have their own
bonuses.
thing you can
For
spec
example,
into.
this
Right.
node adds more clasped hands to your breaches, and adds a pack of magic monsters that can guard them. Get some more points and you can allocate Waking Nightmare, which will double the number of splinters you get from clasped hands,
Oh, wow.
and inflict you with a mysterious debuff. In order to earn more points, you will need to defeat Zesht at a higher difficulty, and some rewards from Zesht can only be found by increasing the difficulty of the Twisted Domain above certain thresholds. Defeating Zesht at difficulty 4 will be a challenge indeed, but there are many more threats in Breakfast.
Some people like ritual.
Ritual altars are sacrificial sites built by the mysterious King in the Mists. If you encounter this symbol on the Atlas, then you know that the area contains ritual altars.
Oh,
Ritual
okay.
altars demand tribute. Every monster you slaughter in the circle will feed the altar. After the sacrifice, touch it to begin the ritual. The monsters you just killed will be resurrected by the King of the Mist's dark magic, and you must fight to survive. The tribute you have offered to the altar can be spent to buy powerful items, but they can be expensive. To gain more tribute, you will want to find more altars. Each successive ritual you do within an area will spawn the monsters revived by the previous ones, in addition to the ones you sacrifice next to it. By the end of an area, you'll be fighting a truly imposing number of
Guys
mobs,
like
but will
the
have
guy
a
was like
significant amount of tribute to
PoE
spend.
2's
One of
early
the rewards
access
you
already
can
has
buy
more
with tribute
content
are
than
omens.
all of Diablo's
These are
and
special
Diablo's
items that allow
expansion.
for metacrafting. Crafting items that affect other crafting items.
Facts.
Have an item with good prefixes but bad suffixes? This omen will help you to remove the mod you don't want while
Sound
keeping
like
the ones you
facts.
do. There are a bunch more of these with different effects, but we will leave them for you to discover. Now don't forget that Ritual will also drop tablets, which can be used to specialize into getting more rituals. If you want to get to the pinnacle boss of Ritual, then you will probably want to use them. They can also be crafted to grant mods, making your rituals more rewarding. The pinnacle encounter of Ritual is the King in the Mists. Feared by the Asmeri people, he is said to have brought eternal darkness to the Wildwood. We won't show the encounter, but just like Breach,
course not.
there are a range
Why
of
would
unique
they?
items you can get for defeating him, and you will gain points
gotta
in the
leave some
ritual
of it
section
I
of the
know.
Atlas tree. Some maps
Delirium,
have been
so they got
touched
Deli.
by insanity. A mysterious entity has taken a special interest in you. Step through the looking glass and you will find your nightmares coming to life. When you touch a mirror, the mists of delirium will spread out across the area, infecting your mind. You must stay within the mist to maintain the nightmare, which is as profitable as it is terrifying. Everything you kill
Man, that
will
move
increase the
thing
rewards
is
that drop.
kinda cool.
However,
That is
the
wicked.
deeper into the mist you travel, the
mean, you're
stronger
just like
the monsters are.
a
Be
pinball
careful
going everywhere.
not to overstay your
Love it.
welcome. Rare and unique enemies will become vessels for
Kinda reminds
terrifying
me of
demons
PoE's
who will
main class
manifest
that
out of them to
people build.
unleash
It's called a
powerful
flicker
attacks on
strike,
you.
and they just
The
bounce
mist
all
also
over the
offers a
place.
strange crafting
Yeah.
material, distilled emotions. By combining these emotions, you
Man,
are
I
able
hope I
to
wasn't
instill
supposed to
your
go
amulet
live for
with a
this
notable from the passive
to
skill.
get the reward.
This is like gaining an extra passive
I
point for
thought you
free
just had to
attached
be
your
there
gear.
and watching it.
They are
Yeah,
also
it's just,
particularly great because you
it's
don't
just,
have
be
to
there and
traverse the
watch
tree
it.
to get them, allowing you to get off-class bonuses
So-
that
Man,
would
their
normally be
numbers are
much harder to
still
get.
rising.
Let me see.
Distilled emotions can also be used to
166.
instill your
166.
in-game maps,
Almost,
applying delirious to
167
them
game.
and adding additional
But
difficulty
we
and
are
rewards,
in the
allowing
middle
you
of
to
the day
further juice
for
your in-game
folks
I know,
who are
right?
working.
It's still like
tablets you can
4
find from
in the
Delirium
evening.
can be used
Yeah,
to
people are
further
gonna just watch
improve,
this later.
increase pack size, make
That's
the
just
fog
crazy.
dissipate
I mean,
slower,
that's
or
pretty big
improve
number
your
just-
progress towards the pinnacle
Right,
encounter
that's
of Delirium.
huge.
Speaking of which, every now and then you will find simulacrum splinters. The mysterious
more-
entity will create strange
daily.
encounters based on warped versions of your own memories. Monsters and simulacrums come in waves that get progressively more difficult. You will receive loot at the end of each wave, and you will have to make the decision to leave now or continue on, facing up against even tougher foes from the mist.
Him.
The bosses you
Yeah.
will face as you get deeper
shoot.
into a simulacrum are truly terrifying. If you can
That's pretty
complete a
wicked.
simulacrum,
Man, they really
you will
do have a
gain
tree
points for the
for each
delirium
thing.
section of the Atlas
Yeah,
skill
each
tree.
and everything they got a tree for.
Expedition.
This
Next up,
is
we
tight.
have Expedition.
I'm still waiting for 2 of the ones that I
Occasionally, while
like to
clearing
run,
corruption,
and I haven't
you
seen
will
them yet.
encounter these
The tree,
Kalguran
at least a
settlers.
tree for 'em.
The Kalgurans have discovered ancient burial sites
I just
with
like the
lost
details.
Verisium artifacts, and they want you to help
pretty
dig them up
amazing.
with explosives. The Kalgurans have marked the locations where the relics can be found. Place explosives as best you can to dig
Oh,
up
this
as
is just
many
like
as possible.
before.
There is just
Oh, yeah,
one
just-
problem.
they've
Corruption
just
has
made
brought
it
the
much
corpses
better
of
than
their
what it-
Well, it
ancestors
made
to
it-
life.
All
you
of
might
them's
have to
like
do a
it
little
was,
Seems like
digging before you
ginormous,
can
though.
reclaim the artifacts.
The rewards are better. I mean, everything's just.
You can also find remnants, the destruction of which will further anger the restless dead. Each one you blow up will make the subsequent monsters more powerful, but also more rewarding. Danig, Rog, Tujin, and Gwenin will exchange the artifacts for useful items and runic magic. You can also find tablets to increase the number of expeditions and the rewards.
Nice.
This one increases the radius of explosives, while this one increases the number of remnants you will find. Eventually,
Logbooks
you
are
might
still in.
discover a logbook. These are special maps full of buried treasure and relics, essentially one giant dig site. Here, you can create an extremely long chain of explosives and go through a very high number of remnants. But be careful, many remnants have mods that can really brick your build, so you will probably want to avoid these ones. If you add too many remnants, you could easily make the encounter harder than you can handle. There are all sorts of interesting things
Look at
buried
all
under
them
the ground in
minions.
I know,
logbooks.
right?
You might find dripping caves and hidden pirate caches. But the most powerful encounter is Olroth, the ancient undead commander of the Knights of the Sun. Defeating him will grant you unique rewards, as well as
That's
points to
expedition
spend in
part.
the expedition section of the Atlas tree. So those are the in-game systems on the Atlas, but we are not done yet. The trials we talked about earlier have much
I
more
didn't see
content
a-
when you get to
a tree
endgame
for
2. Just
light
like the other
or a
in-game
tree for
systems, they
essences?
also have
Oh.
progression
have
mechanics,
essences
unique
in the
rewards,
thing.
and player power that can only be gained from them. As you get higher level coins for the Trial of the Sycamores, you will unlock more floors to explore.
Man, those look crazy.
I like
Each
the
floor has
infinite
its own
dodges.
challenging rooms and a floor
Right,
boss that
and
you will need
cancel
to kill.
anytime.
Yep.
There are 4 floors in total, leading to another pinnacle boss at the end of the last floor, which can only be accessed at endgame. The Trial of the Sycamores is where you'll find jewels, which you can socket into your tree. These are like passives that you can craft with your currency items. They can be really powerful as they allow you to stack modifiers that may not be easily accessible on the tree normally. This jewel gives lightning damage and shock chance, for example. There are quite a few jewel
I wonder if
sockets
they
on the
got rid of
tree,
clusters.
so it's possible to
It looks
gain
like
a
they
lot of
did.
power here. There are also other types of
Which
jewels
would be
that don't
nice.
provide any bonuses themselves.
Yeah, I didn't see anything
but
on
affect
there.
other passive surroundings.
But then again,
Yeah,
they
it's
they only
increases the
showed
effect
just a
of
little
small
bit of
nodes
it.
and radius by
And normally
25%.
clusters are at the
With
end
careful
of the
placement in the tree,
thing.
you could get
Right.
a
On the
significant amount
outsides,
of
and
power
I'm not
from
seeing
it.
any
There are
outside
also unique
clusters.
jewels
Yeah, they're not
available
showing
with
it,
very
though.
interesting effects, but you will have to find those for yourself.
I hope they did.
In order to push further into the trial and uncover the secrets of the Maraketh, you will want to take advantage of its progression system, relics. Relics are items that can be placed in the relic altar as you start the trial. They give special bonuses that affect the
See
trial,
right there.
making
This
it
relic
easier
thing, this
and
reminds
increasing
me
its
so much of
rewards.
Sanctum.
Of course,
That-
you can craft these with your currency items, making them even stronger.
Oh wow.
If you can complete the entire trial overcoming all 4 floors, the final boss will reward you with one of many unique relics. These relics will be consumed when used on your next run, but can reward you with unique and powerful items. For example, this is the Last Flame. If you use it, you will have only 1 honor for the
Man,
entire
this is
trial,
basically
so you will need to do a
this one's-
completely
this is
hitless
basically
run.
Sanctum.
Right.
But it's
The
a
Trial of Chaos also extends into the endgame. As you gain inscribed ultimatums of higher and higher levels, the number of chambers that you can go through increases. In
Yeah, this
true
is
Vaal
exactly
style,
like it.
This allows you to take even more risks,
Well,
even more
minus the
rewards.
content.
At endgame, you can progress through up to 10 chambers with 3 bosses on a single run. Stacking
See, this
10
one's different.
tribulations
This
on
is the
top of each
ritual.
other will make
Yeah.
this a significant challenge, but it's worth
So-
it. The Trial Master will tempt you with items of the Vaal
I like the
Empire,
way the
such as
currency
Vaal
looks now
orbs.
too.
Vaal orbs are powerful crafting
Which they do have
items
the
that
currency
corrupt
in
your
there
gear
right now.
with random
Yeah.
mysterious outcomes.
They just
Corruption
changed the
prevents
design.
an
I
item
think
from
they
being
took out
modified
some
further,
of the currency
so
items
it
that
has
are
to
in
be the
PoE
last
1.
step of your craft. But
Well, there was
it's
a lot
also
of
the
them.
most impactful one. For example, if you use one on your body armor, it might add a new powerful enchantment, or it might re-roll up to half of its modifiers. Vaal orbs also have the ability to add a socket, allowing you to bypass the
He
normal
was able to
restriction
get
of how
3.
many sockets an item can have. A body armor could get up to 3 sockets this way, allowing for a significant number of mods.
Yeah, I'm
Vaal
noticing
orbs can even
no
modify
red,
uniques.
green,
Adding
whatever. Yeah.
enchantments or sockets to uniques can
I know,
make
that's
them
not- 'cause
incredibly
it's all
powerful,
done on
but
your
there is a
thing.
good chance that you will
Yep.
break them
I
as
love
well.
that.
The Trial Master will also occasionally offer you soul cores. Originally formed by
That's why
Chaos,
they're saying
the
you can
Vaal
pick whatever
sought to
class
replicate
and
soul
actually
cores
play
through
it as
human
whatever you
sacrifice
want.
rituals
Right.
and blood
skills.
magic to power
As
their
long as
soul
you
cores.
have that
Soul
unlocked.
cores are
Yeah.
powerful socketable items, with mods that cannot be obtained from regular
And that's why,
runes.
like in the passive tree now, you can
Like
actually
all
say,
in-game
"Oh, I
content,
need
there
more
is, of
strength,"
course,
so
a
you take
pinnacle
strength.
boss. The final
Like
chamber
PoE
will drop
1,
keys to
Right.
this
you can't
mysterious
change
door.
it.
Some say this is
strength
where the
knows
Trial Master
where they
himself
are. You
resides.
can't change that.
Perhaps you are willing to take the risk to find out. Had enough yet? Because there is still just one more thing. The most difficult content in Path of Exile 2.
Pinnacle bosses,
While mapping, you
too.
might come across this fortress that has emerged from underground, surrounded by an enormous maze riddled with danger. Is the maze preventing something from getting in, or something getting out? This fortress is of ancient origin, and its construction has similarities
That
to
looks
the towers
awesome.
and tablets that you have been using on your journey through the endgame. It is clear from the entrance that there are 3 keys required to enter. Local factions are vying for access to the fortress in order to seize the power they believe will be inside. Each of the faction's leaders have managed to get their hands on one of the keys, so you will need to defeat them. Each faction is led by an Uber-Act boss. You can see one of them inhabiting the city, but in order to fight him, you will first need to defeat their 2 lieutenants in the adjacent zones. Be careful. If you fail against either of the lieutenants, or to kill the leader, they will move on, and you will need to find them again.
Oh,
Kill
wow.
all the Uber bosses and you will gain access to the fortress.
That
We
sucks.
aren't going to spoil it, as
They're
we
not
can't
gonna
wait to see you
spoil it.
guys attempt it for the first
No,
time.
of course not.
But is there a tree to get points in after killing it? Of course there is. This is Path of Exile. There is always another tree.
So these are your challenges for PoE 2. As you can see, this project is crazy huge.
This is
Way bigger
all
than
the
even we
early
expected when we
access?
started out.
Man.
But how do you gain access?
it's
Well,
gonna be
during
awesome.
early access, you'll need a key to get in. To thank our existing PoE supporters who have spent more than $480 US,
I should be getting it
we'll be
for-
giving
I'm
you
pretty
guys
sure
a
I
key for the
spent
PC
over that,
version for
so-
free.
Yeah, I
Anyone
already
else
know
who
I
wants
spent
one can
over
get one
that.
by purchasing one of the new early access supporter packs that have just been released to the store. If you just want early access to PoE 2, then you can get a key in the $30 US early access pack. The pack also comes with $30 of points to spend in the MTX store. But we also have a variety of other supporter packs filled with exclusive microtransactions, points to spend in the store, and even physical items. The cosmetics
wonder
can be
if this
used
is
right
in
now
right
in
now.
PoE 1 and in Path of Exile 2 when early access starts. Most of this footage has been recorded in Path of Exile 1, since that's where you can use them immediately. The Lord of
That
Ogham
is-
supporter pack
that's
contains a
pretty nice.
cosmetic armor set
Oh,
befitting of
wow.
the Count of Ogham himself.
I kind of like
There
that
is also a
skin.
matching
That
back
is
attachment, which has an
awesome.
alternate variant depicting the influence of corruption.
Ooh, that is even better.
Also in this pack, you can find a portal formed of the rusted armor of the fallen soldiers in the Red Veil of Ogham, and the
Dude.
offspring of a vicious crow
What
that
the
was found in the hunting grounds. This one doesn't look
That's
so
funny.
vicious though.
Mr. Ding Dong.
On top of that, you'll receive the Iron Count Zweihander to apply
that's
to your
nice.
one-handed or two-handed swords. For those who are wanting to decorate your hideouts with fond memories and tales of Path of Exile's history, you will also get a series of hideout statues. This pack contains the statue of Hillock. For Path of Exile 1's closed beta, each pack contained a true New Zealand icon, the Kiwi. Following this tradition, all packs in this series will also contain a new themed Kiwi pet. The pet will loyally follow you into battle, but run away at the first sign of trouble.
Of course.
Become the ruler of the
Here's the next
desert with the
pack.
king of the Faradin supporter pack. Show your mastery of traversing the sands of the Vasteri plains.
So
Body armor will
we
allow you
should
to
have
move
already
along
earned
ground, ancient sand magic.
access, right?
Now each armor set comes with body armor,
I'm not
boots,
sure when they're.
gloves, and
we
helmet.
if we spin
But the
over
boots are
that,
covered in
yes,
sand.
we should get a key.
If you prefer to show them
I already
off,
know we
you can
did.
turn the gliding off
'Cause we
if
got
you
the
want.
same thing.
I bought
The
the one
accompanying
bundle
back
that,
attachment equips you with two
and plus
powerful
all the
pillars
other
that can
bundles
control
I've
and
bought
manipulate
too.
lightning.
Because I
They
think
will
it's
periodically
everything you've
release
ever
their
bought
energy in a
added
powerful
up.
blast while in town.
Yeah.
And hover in a circle around you.
'Cause I
arcing
think
like
we
between
can
them,
add
forming
up
a
over
barrier
that.
of energy.
I think we're both over
Replace the
that.
appearance of any bow with the Faradin's Glory skin. Or replace the appearance of a spear with the Tyranny's
I'm not
End
too.
spear skin.
I don't really care for that one.
This spear
That-
skin can be applied to staves and war
So we-
staves in Path of
yeah.
Exile 1. If you want to truly show your worth
Oh,
as a king
that's
of the Faradin,
awesome.
then you definitely need your trusty moving
Oh my
entire
God.
city fortress known as the Dreadnought
I mean, that
to
looks
travel
cool,
across the
but I don't
Vasteri
like,
plain.
I just don't like the skin.
In Path of Exile, you can decorate your hideout however you like, and it's no exception here. It comes with a variety of thematic elements to use, or use decorations from elsewhere in the game. Additionally, you will get the Deshret's Blessing level up effect.
I mean, that kiwi pet looks pretty cool.
The King of the Faradin Kiwi pet. And last but not
Val
least, a
Oversoul.
statue depicting the Val Oversoul from Path of Exile 1.
Nice.
For
I
those
still
who
like
don't
the
know
first
how
one more.
supporter packs work, each pack comes with all of the cosmetics
I like
from the
more of the
previous tier.
stuff out of
So
the
you'll get
first.
all
Oh,
the
so
items
you
from
get
the
that when you
Lord
get
of
all the
supporter
other
pack as well.
Right.
The Thaumaturge of the
Oh.
Val supporter pack features an armor set and back
That's
attachment
cool.
themed around the Val and their pursuit of science and progress.
That's cool as hell.
You can find the Soul Core weapon effect in this pack, which causes thaumaturgic energy harnessed from sacrifice to spill from your weapon. This pack also contains Doryani's Idol. It replaces the default
Everybody's already
appearance of
chatting
any
there,
folk
take my
art to
money.
an ancient relic
Right,
that's
it's
used
like
by
give-
Doryani.
give.
And this can be applied to shields in Path of Exile 1. That's
Oh,
not
nice.
the only Val weapon you'll find. It also contains the Wand of the Thaumaturge skin and the Royal Sacrifice Dagger skin. You wouldn't think to put sacrificial gems on a Kiwi,
What
but
the
the Val
fuck?
did. Thaumaturge of the Val supporters
That's
will
funny.
receive the Thaumaturge of the Val Kiwi pet and the Statue of Dominus.
Oh,
This is
that's
also
cool.
the first pack in the series with a physical item. When purchasing this pack, you'll receive a Path of Exile 2 logo t-shirt.
Dude.
But if you don't want one, you can opt out and return for additional points to spend in the store. Becoming a Warlord of the
This one
Kardu
will
supporter
also
will
have
grant
a
you an
shirt
armor
and a
set
hoodie.
and back attachment, adorned
Right.
with jade carvings and iridescent feathers resembling power.
Kind
Enough
of like
to
what we
even
already
impress
got.
the ancestral
from
gods,
the first.
specifically Tukohama, the Kardui god of war. Overkill, you say? I think the Kardui people would disagree. Why not drop a gigantic totem on rare enemies you slay to crush
Nah.
them to a pulp?
That's awesome.
Replace your crafting
Well,
bench in
that-
your hideout
that
with the
does
Ancestral
look
Canoe crafting bench, where Ancestral
Oh,
Chief
wow.
will summon a giant canoe manned by Kardui warriors to aid in your crafting desires.
That's neat.
You'll also get a pair of weapon skins. Equip Akoya's Felling Axe skin to your one-hand or two-handed
I'm
axes,
not a big fan of
or
this one.
Tukohama's Crusher to your one-handed
Oh,
or
I like
two-handed
it.
maces.
You say you do?
Yeah.
A true Kardui warlord is always accompanied by their trusty Kiwi. Equipped with armor and harnessing ancestral magic. They make the
Yeah, I'll be
perfect sidekick.
messing around with PoE too, man.
Once one of the most feared beings in Rayclast, Malachi was
Man,
slain
I'm
by
about to
a
get back
powerful
on
exile.
PoE 1 again.
May the
As
statue
it
commemorate
all
the
got
virtue
you
of Exile's
motivated,
past, present,
right,
and
Ward?
of the
I mean, I've
future.
already been playing, but whew.
Of course, it's not all about dressing up in game.
It
But once you look
is
good in real
on
life
early
too.
release, or not early
Becoming a
release.
warlord
Early
of the
release,
crew
you have to
supporter, you
pay
also get a Path of Exile 2
$34,
hoodie.
and
Our final tier of
on
supporter
regular
pack in this
release,
series
it
is
is
the
free.
Liberator of Rayclast supporter pack. The Liberator of Rayclast armor set and back attachment come made with the finest materials in Rayclast, and shattered glass mosaics suspended in divine power. Set up your base of operations in the Beacon of Salvation hideout. Why restrict yourself to just one island when you can liberate more? The Beacon of Salvation hideout comes equipped with your own collection of small islands and personal operators of boats that you can use to row between them. Just walk to the piers, click a boat to enter, and navigate as you choose. Decorate each island as you see fit to best represent your well-earned hideout. Everyone in your hideout can use their own boat. Why not have some races? You can also get the Window to Twilight portal effect, a beautiful mosaic piece of art that shatters and reveals a gateway to your desired destination as you approach it. As you walk away, the glass magically reforms back to its original form.
That boat's the shit.
Rule in style with the Throne of the Ruler map device. Sure, this map device can create portals to in-game maps, but it also comes with a throne you can sit on to oversee your growing kingdom. Look down on the plebeians running your maps. Being the Liberator, though, is not just about sitting on your throne all day. If you do decide to join the fight yourself, you can leave a High Priest in charge as your second in command. Liberator of Ray class supporters will also get a set of varied weapon skins. The Light of Divinity Scepter skin, the Deliverance crossbow skin, the Justice flail skin, and the Redemption shield skin.
Hey, thank you for the
Once
follow,
again, you'll have an
Jennifer.
accompanying Kiwi, and of course a statue depicting one of the most iconic events in Rayclast's history. The battle between a powerful Exile and Kitava, the Insatiable. With the help of two deities, Sin and Innocence, the Exile was able to defeat him once and for all. This supporter pack also contains the Path of Exile 2 art book. This 215-page full-color art book includes a huge amount of amazing concept
I'd be
art
afraid
and
I'd
lore
drop my laptop.
produced during the long and exciting journey of Path of Exile 2's development. And finally, Path of Exile has a tradition of letting the community participate in designing game features. For Path of Exile 2, we'll be adding the Twilight Order foil reliquary. By becoming a Liberator of Rayclass supporter, once Path of Exile 2 is released, you will be able to select any unique item you have found and be able to drop it from the reliquary. Once players have submitted their items, keys to the reliquary will start dropping, and other players will be able to find foil versions of uniques that you have submitted, along with a message for the lucky
You'd have
player.
to bolt that disc in.
The more players
you know
submit
what I mean?
the same unique, the more chances there will be for the reliquary to drop them, so choose wisely. Now almost
So
all
they're
of these
already in
items are
PoE
available
1.
to use in PoE 1 right now. There are a few exceptions where the item class clearly doesn't exist, such as crossbows or flails. And there are also a few microtransactions on weapon types that are unavailable in PoE 2 at the start of early access. Once classes that use those weapon types are added, those microtransactions will be available to use. If you can't decide which supporter pack to choose yet, you can always start with the early access supporter pack that just includes a key and some points to spend in the store. Then you can upgrade to any of the following tiers at a later date. These supporter packs will be available for purchase throughout early access. We'd really like to thank you for your ongoing support. Without you guys, Path of Exile 2 could not have happened. Now, I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. Stick around, because coming up
Ziggy
next,
D.
we have a live Q&A with Ziggy D.
It's a lot to take in. You know what I mean?
So much.
Mind is blown. Holy crap.
So
to the post-show discussion.
I was about to say he has
Q&A.
no sound.
I hope you all enjoyed what you've seen so far. It's been pretty exciting for us here as well, as you guys have been inspired already just watching things. And you're already cooking a new ascendancy class.
Yeah, for sure.
You've got to do design whenever you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's been a few fun moments here already. But I'm your host, Ziggy D, and I'm joined by Jonathan and Mark to talk about everything you've seen. Honestly, it's so much.
I mean, we were really keen to make sure that when we went into early access that people didn't feel like it was just, limping along and kind of, just like a minimal amount of content. We really wanted to kind of blow people away. So hopefully people feel like, there is enough content. Because, it was certainly a mission to get all that stuff in.
Yeah, I did come here expecting that there would be, maybe a basic mapping, placeholder end game, and your 3 acts and, the half the classes. But you've made a decision here clearly that's got the core PoE player community in mind.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we have to make sure, look, Path of Exile's endgame is kind of known for the fact that you get to choose between different types of content, and that, like, you know, some people enjoy one thing, some people enjoy another, and I feel like that choice is like a huge part of what makes it good. So if we didn't have that when we entered endgame, then I don't think that would be, you know, like that wouldn't be a Path of Exile endgame. So that's kind of what we have to make sure of. So we kind of said, okay, well, like, what is the minimum number of like different in-game things you need to be able to have in order to be able to actually have a viable in-game that we feel like you get different choices, and that's how we ended up with what we have here.
I definitely feel like a lot of games nowadays release, you know, and their campaigns intact real good. You get to the end game and it just falls real flat.
Yeah.
And it was certainly a very important
You
moment
say
for us.
D4 bad without saying D4 bad.
Right.
That's the wrong thing to do. Like, let's not make the same mistake as everyone else. Let's pivot. And we actually did that, and like, it made a world of difference and made the game all of a sudden, you know, 100 times bigger with an infinite amount more content.
I'm gonna definitely be seeing that.
Because like, okay, like, so we're you know, we're progressing. It's like we would have made it. We would have gotten, you know, all these acts in if we hadn't have changed direction. It's like to actually say, you know what, we're going to specifically not finish this content that we'll be working on, you know, that we you know, it's like pins down everyone, we're stopping work on this, we're going to move over to endgame because it's actually more important. Like, that was certainly a hard one.
That would have been some whiplash there, I imagine.
For sure, for sure. Well, I mean, it's like suddenly the whole, you know, like environment art team, it's like, you know, they're all just like, whatever you're working on, just scrap. You don't want to scrap, but, you know, like, just stop it. we're doing something else now. So
saving clothes, yeah.
Especially for a lot of the developers, because you got to also think, like, a lot of our developers have just been working on this campaign for, what is it now, 6 years.
Like, I think it's even longer, actually.
Yeah, it's like just this epic journey, whereas none of them, you know, a lot of these people haven't been working on Path of Exile 1 this whole time, where so some of us are like, you know, we're just churning out in-game with every league and doing all of that, but for a lot of these people, a lot of these developers, yeah, it was quite jarring to swap over, but everyone embraced it. You know, we talked about it, everyone was happy about it and stoked about it, and it just ended up coming out real awesome. So
I think it's landed well, and it definitely kind of blew me away when you. So even before I saw anything, we were in the car on the drive here, and you were just info dumping all of the end game. You're like, oh, we got this feature, we got this feature. I'm getting dopamine just from hearing about it. I haven't even seen anything yet. But do you guys feel like you're competing against yourselves a little bit here? Because Path of Exile's kind of set the bar.
Pretty much.
The original
They
game
have
set the bar for what is available to endgame in a game like this, and it makes it's not acceptable really to launch with just nothing in terms of endgame now.
Absolutely. I mean, I mean, like, if you're not competing with yourself, then I don't think you're going to make good progress, right? So that's what you really have to do.
Yeah, but
Blizzard.
Even.
Yep,
absolutely.
Listen to this
advice.
advice.
I just think it would not have landed nearly as well without that. And I think it's important that our existing Path of Exile 1 community feels like they're also served. Like, yeah, sure, we're doing all this stuff for new players, and that's really important, and that'll expand the audience. But, you know, if we launched and all the PoE 1 players are unhappy, that wouldn't be good. So, you know, we have to make sure that they also feel like, you know, they've got a game for both them and for all the new
all
players.
My socials are on my about.
And you definitely want
yeah,
all
just
those
click on there and you'll
like,
find my Discord and everything.
You'll get a lot of content can be immediately divisive, right? Obviously, that's the nature of it. That's how it goes, right? And so you have all of these different avenues because there are different players who like different types of content.
Yeah.
So if you're just like, here's your one end game system, well, immediately then there is a portion of players who are just like, I don't want this, right? And so having all of these options is like ultra key, and that is what Path of Exile 1 has taught us. And again, it's like, I'd say lessons learned, you know, for the genre, and it is expanding in other games and stuff. But yeah, certainly, as you said, competing with ourselves, yes, PoE 1 has like, you know, 40 axes, you know, and we've got 7 really good ones here, and obviously more to come. But 7 is a lot, mind you.
Especially when it's all like, you know, like people have to learn a lot of things again. It's going to be very interesting to see how long it takes people to do the kind of difficulty 4 pinnacle content. It's like we have it. You know, we have to. It's honestly like we actually don't even really know, because like you never know what people are going to find in terms of builds and so on. Like I'm hoping that it will take people a while to be able to.
Yeah, it's not going to take that long.
You know, you never know. Maybe end of day 1, people just be like, oh yeah, easy, no problem, mate. You know, could be what it's like.
We have a few people that are doing that sort of thing. I saw like a solo self-found level 100 in 24 hours or something.
Jeez. Okay, we got this is where we've got it now, is it?
So, but I imagine there'll be a little bit of a soft reset there for people.
Yeah, for sure.
A relearning period.
There's stuff to learn.
And I mean, PoE 2 has changed a lot over the years, so more than 5 years of development now. And what was that initial pitch when PoE 2 was first put forwards? Like, as to what it's going to be, because it was much smaller in scope originally.
Yeah, so when we started, it wasn't even a sequel. It was just we're just updating the character rigs, and over time, it kind of feature creeped into a proper sequel. But the thing that we were saying is, whenever we were talking about it, and I guess this is the main thing, is that we're like, okay, when we make an area here, it needs to be that there's like a theme for it. It feels unique from everything else. We're not going to just like have recycled stuff like within the campaign that just feels like, oh, you know, we just took this area and modified it slightly. You know, each one's got to have its own stuff. It's got to have monsters that were like carefully thought about, that like, you know, fit in with the world, and it's got to have bosses that are actually like good tier quality. You know, and every area is going to have one. So those decisions have kind of been things that have meant that they really raised the quality bar to a level that took us way longer than we even really expected. Like those things there, just like it's huge, right? Like honestly, I feel like we underestimated significantly what it would take to deliver that level of quality.
I remember really early on, a battle I fought for, and I mean like way back, was like, if you think back to, say, Diablo 2, which obviously still holds a lot of, you know, power in terms of design motivations and philosophy and stuff within the company, you get things like the super uniques, and PoE 1 did them, and it's just like, here's a boss with 1 or 2 skills. And I remember very, very, very early on in PoE 2, I'm like, I want every single boss to be memorable and a thing. I don't want a unique monster that's just like dies in 2 seconds and uses heavy strike and has a fancy name. And I remember, I mean, I even got some push.
Poor Caliph.
I remember getting some pushback at the time and thinking like, you know, I love the bosses, my favorite part of everything, and so I was just like, man, I don't want this. This is just terrible. But of course, that decision, me pushing for that, me wanting that, turned into this megalithic.
What have you done?
Now we have 50, aiming to be 100. Honestly, probably later, several more 100 once all the end games, everything start to evolve and more expansions comes out. And I'm like, yep, we maybe just made, you know, 100 times more work for ourselves, but 100% bloody worthwhile, because I'd say those bosses are one of the main, you know, attraction pieces of the game. And anyone who plays it is just like, holy crap, those boss fights are amazing. So like, you know, obviously some are bad and some are good to different people and all that. That's how it all goes. That's part of all the fun. But
I mean, that does make
true that me pushing for that fight literally created thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of work. Now, worthwhile work, but it is again that exact thing of like, the scope was kind of small on numerous axes, and as we just raised the quality bar to what we thought was good, it certainly went from, you know, what was it initially, just reskinning some character classes and new rigs or whatever, into this like mega scale entire campaign, everything. But
full standalone separate game. Yeah.
Fun other anecdote, since we went out of that territory. It was originally codenamed Project Chimera.
What? I don't.
It was this pipe dream.
I've never been a fan of these codename things.
It was this like, there were times way back in the original Office, there was all this like, sometimes there'll be a feature you can't really do in PoE 1, and it was always like, we'll do it in Project Chimera. That was like amongst the developers, and people were like, what the heck is that? Now, ironically, there is a boss in Act 3 called, well, it's got a different name, but it's called the Chimera internally. It is a chimera. It's a multi-headed beast, and you've seen it in a few of the marketing, you know, things here and here, different trailers, little snippets of it. And I think it's just ironic that was actually the first boss asset made before everything. The first monster, because back in when we used to just make random monsters,
we
and
just
we'll
made
find out
random
how to use them.
monsters to find out how to use them.
Before that game was used in the original PoE 2
It's like,
trailer.
let's just dabble here. It's okay.
Let's just make stuff. And
might as well.
But only from a balance.
I mean, that's the game that cares. They just make stuff, and if it works, it works. It doesn't, it doesn't.
It sounds like there was like some sort of emotional demon that you had to battle there, of like the legacy of the original idea, and you had to finish it.
We had a moment with the monster game designers where we're like, oh my god, it's happening. The Chimera is finally
tell these guys really care. Look at their excitement and everything.
I know.
Like, we need to celebrate this.
They're pretty
it was like,
stoked about what they
origin,
did. I
and
mean,
now it's at
honestly,
this,
I would be too.
Point where we're about to deploy early access.
Well, I'm just saying. Then
Not
you
to
get
say
these
the
other
end, 'cause
people
the
we ain't
end
gonna
is
name.
For
They just look so dead. Like they don't even care. Like no excitement.
But,
No.
on that note,
They're like, okay, this is
Man,
what we're
we
doing.
gotta be here.
Kind of
Yeah,
first time,
it was
I feel
like,
really,
you
laid
know,
bare
they took
kinda
got their
everything,
birthday
you know,
taken
putting
away
it
just to
out
sit
there.
there.
I'm watching these guys. It
Only
looks
been
like
2
two
weeks
kids that
away
just got
from
their
everyone
favorite
playing.
present or something.
Well, it's always scary,
Right.
you know, coming into a release, and I think especially for, you know, there's like a bunch of people on the PoE2 team who have, you know, who, like they have, this is their first game that they're going to be releasing, and that experience is something that, you know, like. Yeah, like it's tough, and honestly, I think that even we were feeling a little bit cocky actually about the fact because you know we release you know content for PoE1 all the time, and I feel like we kind of felt like we knew what it took to get a game released, but honestly, like PoE2 was just a whole entirely different demon as far as getting things out right. Like it's just way more difficult. Like when you actually have to make everything, like the whole frickin' thing right from the ground up again, it's like wow, there's way more stuff there, and like there's even things like the passive tree where it's like. I feel like we underestimated what it would take to get something like that to an actual releasable state. Like that was a huge amount of work, just like absolutely colossal to get it to you know, to get that kind of stuff in shape. Like it's just been crazy. So yeah, like obviously it's nerve wracking, you know, coming up to coming up to a release day. But I think we do have something that players are going to really enjoy, and you know, like it's always comforting when you know, I mean, we had a live event in LA recently. You know, people. You know, we got to the time limit and everyone's like, "Oh man, we don't want to stop." You know, so like, I'm really, I think people are going to really enjoy it.
See, that's awesome. They're everybody's so excited to work for them. You know what I mean?
As well, whereas before I was playing,
unlike
very buggy,
those who
kind
will
of
remain
internal version of the
nameless.
game. It was very experimental. Now playing,
They even play the games.
I know.
Well, I heard you still managed to blow
Like,
the
they
count up the elevator.
truly,
With,
unlike the other guys who say they play and love this class, and then you see them playing and they don't even know what to do.
I have no idea, and they're like, what's this button?
Like these guys are actually in it playing. That's why they brought the trait. Like you'll see stuff added into PoE1 because they're like, man, this doesn't work right. We need to do something so it can. Because they actually play the game.
Right.
Like how you can sit there and send your whole entire inventory of chaos to somebody just by holding shift and right click.
It's been a lot.
Somebody did that because they got tired of clicking on each one 60 times.
So much
right
now to play around with.
It's slightly annoying.
It seems like originally I was thinking, you know, we might be playing for a few weeks here, and then you know, maybe going back over to some Path of Exile 1 stuff. But it seems like you guys want us playing through Christmas.
That would certainly be good. I mean, look, there's enough stuff there. I think it will take people a long time to get through.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously, it's also going to be the first time people are playing through a completely fresh campaign as well. I think that will take people a fair amount of time. So yeah, there's, and then of course the end game as well to explore. I mean, yeah, it should be pretty significant. I mean, we've always wanted it to be that Path of Exile 2 leagues, you know, are going to be, you know, like how PoE1 leagues are, where you play them and you play them for like, you know, a reasonable amount of time, and then, you know, sure, you get done with them eventually, and then you've got the next content that comes out.
And
so,
the way they're going to be doing it too is when one league's going.
To make that happen.
About the other one will start. They're gonna. What's the word?
They're gonna stagger.
They're gonna ask a few questions kind of around that idea.
So basically, you'll jump from one, then to the other,
firstly,
then
is
to the other.
Wipes and resets.
I mean, that's perfect.
Will there be something before launch as well?
So we are going to be having
you
new,
basically
like,
keeping
leagues effectively throughout the beta. Whenever
you're
we launch
keeping the
something
fan base hostage.
We want to make sure that all
You're like going back and forth.
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be able to play
into
anything
an early
else.
access
Pretty much.
league, and effectively
They're definitely
after
gonna
we
try
go
to
for release,
occupy
that
your
league
time.
will stick around. Now, I can't promise that everything about
Just
the
a wee
character
bit.
will function exactly
Surely
like how
not.
it did in that thing.
I imagine it would be a glorious kind of snapshot of all of the here's all the broken stuff I have. Yeah.
But effectively, we can contain all that stuff in the sort of early access league, and then if you still want to play those characters, you know, like then you can go right ahead and do that. But you know, the action is always going to be in whatever the most recent league is, and then of course after that point, there'll be a standard that everything goes into, which you know, all our economic sins will forevermore be archived in the in standard. So yeah, that's you know, no doubt what will happen.
Well, it's nice that it's not going to be affecting what will be the standard league.
Yeah.
Also,
that's the
that
idea.
people will be able to kind of get invested in their characters. Because,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's even something kind of cool about the idea of making something that will be like that little historical piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little collectible.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there'll be some handful of legacy things that only exist in early access leagues. So you know, I guess we'll have to see what comes with unique balance.
You talked about like the you know, playing for a week or how long are we expecting?
Yeah.
Well, we also got to remember, and a lot of the, you know, a lot of the PoE1 players will be thinking very differently to people who are obviously going to experience this as a new game, but it is a new game, right? You don't have all these predefined, hyper-refined builds
we gotta
to play
explore,
immediately.
find them builds again.
Go through things. You don't have people coming in with like fully detailed 7 million line build guides of exactly what to do with what items.
the discovery is going to be there. The discovery takes time, and the discovery is like honestly ultra fun for me. I love it.
Right? Hell yeah.
Now those things will emerge after time. Of course they do. Completely fine. But you should remember, like, there's a lot of game to play here, to discover, to learn about the world, the new narratives, the new world building, the new unique items, the ascendancy classes, the massive passive tree, which is bigger than PoE 1's, the end game systems, the bosses, it's not going to be this I personally, when a PoE 1 league comes out, for example, I play for like a month. Sometimes a bit longer, sometimes a bit less. It also depends largely what's going on here and how much I need to invest here. So, and there are other people who play for more like 3 and whatnot, but there's certainly going to be a much longer time period you can play this for while still discovering new stuff and not feel like you're finished, you know what I mean? Yeah. Now, of course, you see that's subjective. Everyone can pick their own point when they finish, but if you want to see everything and do everything, you're going to be investing a lot more time, especially these first-time rounds.
Oh,
and then
it definitely,
with every league, there's more to discover.
First time around, you're going to be knee-deep in everything.
Parts over and over and over again. You'll get more efficient over time. That's how the game works. So, yeah, I'd expect a lot of time.
You got to find out what
works.
You got to find out what mechanics and stuff to farm that works best.
Not
a week, not 2
all
the different classes.
You're also going to be hitting farm spots and all these different things
play at your own pace, see how you want to go, learn at your own pace.
Everything's
that's
brand new.
That's the beauty of a new game as well, which we haven't been able to experience with Path of Exile 1, or other games, and for so long, is actually discovering the entire world. And yeah, there's some familiar mechanics at the end game and stuff like that, which is awesome for people. But I certainly want to I'm very excited to see people discovering the new things and getting so excited about it.
I can tell you're amped for watching people go through that discovery process. I'm maybe even diving in yourself
100%.
I love sitting there in Path of Building, as many of us do, but I am very excited for that.
You could spend hours on
the discovery process for a while.
I think you were saying how much you were part spreadsheet. I think I was saying I'm like maybe 60% spreadsheet, 40% discovery, and that's my play archetype. So
coming up with our player profiles and Timmy spikes and things like that for both of Exile characters.
The discovery part of me is ultra excited, and I'll mind you, that's coming from someone who kind of knows all the content. I'm still, because there's something different about making it versus actually playing it live with the players, seeing them discover it, uniques being linked in chat and on Reddit and all of that is just so cool. So we're going to get a massive dose of that, and it is like genuinely exciting to just see how people are going to think, what's worth 1 chaos or what's worth 10 chaos, what's worth
Right.
If chaos is even the metric.
Is chaos even the currency that people settle on?
We were arguing about this earlier.
I'm pretty sure that 1 C spam in chat might turn into 1 E, because 1 exalt
is chaos,
given that exalt is now.
I think it'll be chaos.
People probably
ad remove will still be.
People don't appreciate, by the way, so when we say we've increased, you're going to be getting multiple exalts in Act 1. In PoE 2, we actually have increased that a lot. It isn't just like an idle,
I can see exalts becoming the new kind of like chaos.
I think
chaos
that will
being
be
the new divines.
I actually agree. But we'll see.
That's my point.
But it's a new economy, right? Who even knows? The market will have to.
But I like that we're already arguing about this. It's good fun. So, do you have some kind of beta release roadmap for updates and things like that for people to look forward to?
We certainly did have one 6 months ago when we were, but now that we're sort of getting to release, it's like, oh my god, we have to look at it. So, look, I don't think it'll be any less than 6 months, and I think it could easily end up being more. I certainly don't want to. Look, 2025, I think really want to be full release in 2025. I don't really want to be spending more than a year. That would be pretty crazy. But honestly, we have to get all the content finished and all that sort of stuff. We always feel
hopefully for everybody it'll be like 6 months.
And of course we have to learn what we need to learn. We have to get the game to the point when
they're still trying to
really
plan for 2025.
We have to make sure that all of the things we've got the difficulty right for all the players.
Early release is right before 2025.
So we have to sort out. So
that's what I'm
saying. It's right around the corner. It's like
weeks at least are going to just be scramble of
hey, there's my hands. I got my drop.
This crazy thing out, and we found this thing.
You got your hands.
That's always scary. Nice. Because it's just. when we add content to PoE1, it's like at least the kind of base of stuff that we have is kind of well tested and people know kind of what's going on with it. But here it's like just complete new world, and we're the kind of game that has a lot of ability for players to do stuff.
I wish
that
I could
we
figure
wouldn't
out a way to
anticipate.
know how much it's like. I want to know if I got the key already.
Just the way support gems work and everything like that. So there's certainly a lot of worry that like there's just going to be builds that are like completely ridiculous that we just never anticipated, combining certain things in different ways we don't expect. With hundreds of support gems, it can be like that. So that's going to be an interesting one.
It will happen.
Yeah, for sure.
It is inevitable, right? Like there's nothing we can even do about it because you need hundreds and thousands of hours of testing to be able to do that with what can only be done with hundreds of thousands of players. But that's also the magic of it all, which is awesome.
That's why I was asking you, like, are you literally really doing 12 classes and 36 synergies, like actually?
Yeah, that's absolutely. We have we know what we want to do with
it's
all
a bit
that
unhinged.
Stuff. It is a bit, but
they're getting a bit of an echo there.
I mean, a studio that produces a passive skill tree like we do.
Yeah, I got the echo too.
For punishment, with regard to just like mixing.
Yeah, it went away, but I was like,
I think someone was screwing with the audio.
I mean, look, this is
kind of screwed things up while they're talking.
I mean, like as people go through early access, it's going to feel like there's just expansion content coming up pretty frequently. Just because we have all the stuff that we kind of got a lot of the way through. So there's stuff that's coming. I mean, look, I'm pretty sure. Like I really want to get the Druid out. Like we announced it, we've talked about it. It's a lot of fun. I'm keen to get that out there as soon as we can. The Huntress we've talked a bunch about as well. There's like those kinds of things. I think will be.
I kind of want to play around with the Druid whenever it comes out.
There's obviously more to do.
The other thing you mentioned, talking roadmap like things, is we've always been. It's hard to predict because a lot of what will happen is, and what we leave space for is reacting to what the players want. And so if you plan everything for so long, you're going to have very, very, very slow reaction times to fixing, or adding certain content where they may, maybe the issue is like, the campaign needs more of this, or this class needs more of this, or something. So if you're planning, then you're going to be delivering on what they want solved like a year down the line or even longer. And where we like to remain very, very dynamic and like, you want to be able to fix that stuff like, this is the main problem. Like, sure, obviously you need more than a week sometimes, most of the time. But we want it generally to be that the next releases, expansions, updates, whatever, can alleviate as many of those problems as possible. So, yeah, you try not to get too strict with the planning has generally been our philosophy because, especially when it comes to actually having the live service product out, because that is very, very important. Otherwise, you're never going to seem like you're doing what people want. And what are you doing if not that?
So that actually is a good point. Like I was going to ask, what do you folks, what does the team want out of the beta? Because obviously it's like a good way to market the game, but it's also key to shaping the game in the future. Like an actual beta. Too. It's not just early access.
I think one of the most important things, I think it's going to be really good for the development team to get back into a live mindset and like get it back into the idea of like everything we make is shipping.
People are seeing this.
Like get back into this. People are seeing. Like actually getting back into that and like being able to sort of see directly like, okay, we make something, it goes in the game, people like it, don't like it, like that kind of stuff. Like and that really like that has been our studio for like most of its lifetime. Obviously, we before we released PoE1, it wasn't, but after that point, I mean, we are a company. We are a company that likes to think that we can do live service better than anyone else. Like that is our goal.
Nice.
And so
like
getting back into that again, for everyone in the studio, so that everyone's working on things that are going to be releasing within, certainly in less time than 3 months away. Is going to think be really, really good for us again. I look forward to just being able to do that because these long term, like really long term things, like that span over years. It's like you go so long without proper feedback, like stuff kind of gets made, and then it's not really in a real game, and so it doesn't get
probably
tested
lose
properly.
Perspective,
and you absolutely lose perspective on this stuff. So I think that that's just going to be really great to get back to that again.
Yeah, I honestly, as you said, it is early access, it is a beta period, and I'd say personally speaking, the thing that, and we mentioned it briefly about the character balance and the builds that are broken and all that, that's obviously pretty useful to me, right?
Yep.
Plus we have other systems in there like, the checkpointing system, right? You have to kill the boss in one life. These are things we haven't mass tested, and obviously other games have, and they work, and that's awesome. There are other things like, the end game system is a little bit less forgiving in that if you die, you fail the map, right? These things
are things that we obviously need to test and iterate on in the future by adjusting the difficulty and stuff like that. And you, especially as you get towards this point of, you know, the end game, like, okay, Act 1 has been tested like crazy.
Yep.
Right? And you get less and less testing as it goes on because you get less people, you know, they've just been around for less time. And so, yeah, it's going to be a huge amount of iteration and feedback and from the players and us just, you know, reevaluating all the stuff. And the thing is, we're always dynamic about that stuff. Like, we'll just change things if it's wrong. We'll redesign it. We'll come up with a new way. Jonathan's a firm believer of if A doesn't work and B doesn't work, then we'll find C, we'll find option C, we'll find option D, and we'll keep changing things and we'll make it work. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of that iteration on our design decisions, how forgiving, because, like, the game is pretty hard, you know, it can be pretty hard. And so when you're on that fine line of, like, you know, if things are difficult, you know, it's not too easy to know if you've tilted one way or the other. So, you know, finding what everyone agrees should be the common corrected difficulty is something that I will obviously be paying very, very, very close attention to.
It's a pretty hard thing to nail down when you are making the game. And so we've seen that a lot where you folks have been pretty willing to change and then rechange and rechange again. Some of the core features like flasks. And
I do like how flexible they are.
And you're keeping that kind of mindset going into the beta then?
Of course. I mean, look, we're always willing to change stuff. Like that flask thing, like the most recent change to that was like ultra recent. Like, have we even had like a closed beta of that yet? Was that, no. I think we haven't, But I mean, I think it's way better than it was. Like it's, the things have improved a lot. And honestly, like that's one of those things we've been wanting to do, something to sort out flasks for ages.
Yep.
And it really came about because when actually looking at what new players were having trouble with when they were playing, Flask Piano was actually like, even from the very beginning of the game, actually ended up being one of those things that like people just had trouble with, just like just the manual dexterity required to like hit all your different flask keys, and then you have to know when one of your flasks has run out so you can move to the next one, and like various things like that. Like all that stuff actually was like just a large amount of mechanical complexity right from the very beginning. And then even at end game, I don't think it was really that satisfying either, because you ended up with like, you know, just like having to press all these buttons all the time, and obviously it's all utility flasks that people are using at end game. And then we kind of tried to band-aid this in PoE 1 with the you know, some of the flask automation stuff that was added there, but there was still this idea that that you're still more powerful if you don't automate. So therefore, you know, like it's like, you know, it's like there's that trade-off there. So
you're just more powerful if you get mage blood. Really,
sure. I guess. Sure.
And then it's all automated, and you're very powerful.
Yeah, sure. All right. But you know, so the point is effectively that the charm stuff that we're doing effectively means that you no longer, the game is making that decision of like, you know, that stuff will be automated. You no longer have to do that like crazy flask piano to get the best, you know, the best out of your character. And I think that is definitely a step in the right direction. And the other thing as well is it actually makes the crafting more meaningful, I think, on the flasks, because when you've got like 5 slots, then like the individual mods and the individual stuff like seems to tend to not matter as much. I mean, obviously, you know, people want instant recovery and things like that, but you know, like but like now it's like it's much more meaningful. Like on your life flask, the choice between do I want instant or do I want way more like life, like that kind of stuff actually can be a lot more meaningful once you've only got one. So yeah, I think it is a lot better personally.
You have we'll jump ahead to flasks since we're on the topic. You have locked in effectively the fact that there's a mana flask there now, so there's always going to be a mana flask slot. And how does that tie into your design for mana? And are we always going to be using a mana flask slot, or if we solve another way, what does it do? You
can absolutely solve another way, and then you'll just have a flask slot that isn't doing anything for sure. But I think it kind of has to work that way because we really don't want. Because like once you sort of start to get into changing that around, I feel like the system sort of starts to break with regard to like, you know, the feeling of like I know where mana is, I know where my health is, like that kind of stuff. That being said, you know, we've always got uniques and stuff like that. I believe there's already
there is a unique that allows you to equip 2 flasks.
But the thing is, then that's a build choice that you're making, so it's a little bit different, and that's fine. But I think the system as it works now just it's a lot easier.
So it does sound like on the mana side of things then that there are going to be multiple angles of solving mana,
Of course. We've got Leech, edition number 475 of how it works. And we've finally got it right this time. You know, I think it works, and I think it's good. So I think that Leech will be more common.
I'm not going to have to like crack out the Leech diagram showing the different buckets and things like that.
I was saying, I think that Leech might be... No, I think I was going to say, Leech is one of the topics in the studio that has wasted the most designer time of anything in the industry. But I actually don't think it's that. I think the actual worst offender is what stats should Dex give you. I think that is like that one has wasted there's so many arguments about that.
I feel like that one's never come to the fore. Like we know about the Leech one,
but no one is happy about giving accuracy. But no one has a better idea than what accuracy that it can give. And then, like everyone's going to come up with like in chat a bit. I bet they'll be like saying, oh, you know, it can give this or this, whatever. But there's like, yeah, seriously, there's been endless arguments about that topic. It's like it's outrageous. Yeah.
I just got my drop.
You've got me thinking about it
Nice.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, speed would be good, but then that's probably too much. Too much.
Something like Dex, you just can't.
Dex stacking speed.
Oh, we can get all the designers down here right now.
Yeah, I know. But we'll just have it. We'll just have it out again. We'll just have it out again.
The longest Q&A of all time.
Yeah.
It's already going to be that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just like, you start the day, you're like, all right, here are the problems we need to solve, and then you're like,
what about?
But then accuracy on Dex comes up again.
No, it's 3 p.m. and we're still discussing dexterity.
Yeah.
So I go home, just make it accuracy again.
Yeah, exactly. That is literally how it comes back to accuracy every time.
This is okay.
Yeah.
Rewinding a little bit, we can't forget our roots with Path of Exile 1, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So for the PoE 1 enjoyers, what is the plan for PoE 1 during the course of this beta? Is there going to be leagues launching? Is it on the back burner?
Yeah, there absolutely will be leagues launching. Now I don't know the exact date, but the plan is kind of late February.
Yep.
But I mean, look, we'll see what happens. I will admit that unfortunately we did have to steal a few PoE 1 resources just towards the end here, which is kind of been a bit unfortunate. I really wish we didn't have to, but yeah, as I said, we kind of underestimated some of the stuff. But everyone is going to be going back to PoE 1 again.
Not till
for the
February is the new league. This goes such a long league.
You know, we're going to make sure
it's going to be very long.
Like one of the things that was a big problem for our studio when we had a long-term project and a short-term project is that you know, you've always had that thing of like you always want to work on the short-term thing.
Yeah.
So now that we've got 2 short-term things coming up, I actually think it's going to be a bit easier to prioritize in some respects because
funnily enough,
you know, it's just like it's all that stuff is then you know, is like coming up soon. So but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we need to get that PoE 1 expansion out next.
Yeah, obviously, you know, I just want to always make it clear that, you know, the reason why things can't be so planned out is, again, we're just releasing this game.
Yep.
Obviously, we pivoted to endgame, and then that needed more resources. And then, of course, combined with the fact that, you know, things obviously change. There are unpredictable things in the environment we can't necessarily guarantee. And then, of course, you have, you know, Christmas coming up and all of that, right? There's so many variables to consider, but we also don't know how much time is going to be invested necessarily or need to be invested into live operations for post-release. How many problems are going to go wrong? How many builds how many of the uniques are broken? How many, you know, and where do all these resources go? There are like, there's millions of variables here to consider, and so it can get very, very difficult, especially at this time. But once you release, you have a bit of a grace period, so to speak, where more like a period of extreme amounts of fire, where we're putting out fires everywhere. But we have a period where we're fixing everything. You get everything stable, and then we're going to be like, all right, let's recalibrate, figure everything out, and what is our plans, and then establish all of that, based also on the feedback we get from that, you know, period where everything's on fire. Not to make it sound like it's going to be bad, but that is the inevitability, is that there's always problems.
Hopefully it appears good from a player perspective, but there's always going to be like, oh my god, people found this, and you know, like, we
don't have to see all the fires.
Like ideally the best thing is when we're able to fix some kind of exploit before people even hear about it. And when I say exploit, I'm just talking about some broken thing. Like if we we're obviously normally have to worry about like the whole mid-league nerf concept, but it's like if you can deal with something within like an hour or two of it happening, then it's like you're kind of okay, because you know, no one had a chance to kind of like everyone didn't swap their build over to it or whatever. But we're gonna have to be really on the ball for PoE 2 just because there's so many things that are new.
Well, I mean, look, we have several bosses with several elevators. How many of them can be pushed up the elevator? You know what I mean? Well, that's what I mean. When I say a fire, I'm talking about bosses getting pushed up elevators. Like, that's not okay.
I am liking my mercenary flashbang knockback is very fun.
Right. Yeah, you need to look into that, by the way. The whole flashbang.
I feel like you're going to nerf my build.
He's finding fires already.
No. These are the fun things. Discovering that stuff can be very fun for the players. It's just internally, it's like, oh no, what are we doing? It can get a little bit panicky after release, and it there's lots of things going on. You're like, oh geez, what do I solve first? But obviously, it's the same as PoE 1. We're good at it at this point.
Got some experience.
Yeah.
Belts. You aren't going to be torturing us with releasing beta stuff at the same time as PoE 1 league launches.
Yeah, the plan is to keep them separated a bit from each other so that you get a chance to play.
Don't make me
both
choose.
Yeah.
So we saw a cinematic, to put it lightly. It was that was quite epic, and I know has been cooking for quite some time, and that was pretty exciting. But we've also seen just a lot of story stuff happening on a much higher level than previously now. So stepping up your storytelling game here a bit.
Yeah, so we're really wanting to make sure that the storytelling in PoE 2 is much better than what it was in PoE 1. There's a lot more kind of I guess
the storytelling
that kind of
fine in
stuff
PoE
with the
1,
introductions to boss fights and the outros and things like that. Like all that stuff.
Yeah,
we've just got a lot more storytelling going in. All of those.
You had to actually
we
read a lot of the items and stuff like that to get a lot of the lore.
Between the acts,
there's
these kind of more kind of motion graphic type cutscenes, just kind of establish things.
I mean, I still
there might be some more surprises later on in the game as well. Not in early access.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see a problem with it. But if they're enhancing it, by God, I'll take it.
I think a lot of people who got through the PoE 1 story had no idea what was happening by the end. And so effectively we want to make sure that is not the case this time around, that people really are able to absorb things. But one thing I will say, though, is that it's ultra important to us that we don't break the feeling that, when you're playing a second time, that it feels we don't want it to feel annoying the second time.
We were talking about this morning. About you don't take the control out of the player's hands.
So I'm personally a believer of the fact that if you just when you change the camera position for a cutscene, immediately it feels way more annoying. Because there's this whole thing of like if you click on an NPC and the camera changes position, sure, when you're playing through the campaign the first time, that kind of thing is that can be cool. But then if you're you're playing through the second, third, fourth, fifth time, you want to be able to go to the NPC and go click, 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 and just get past, and without it feeling like you've had to sort of worry about anything. So effectively, we want to make sure that it's still that we still have that, because ultimately, we're a game you expect people to play through many times. So ideally, we can kind of deliver both the situation where the first time you play through it, it feels like an amazing story that you're getting, that you're taking seriously, that you're understanding, that there's all those sort of touch points and little things just all through, while also maintaining the fact that if you know what you're doing, it's you don't have to go talk to some quest
they're going to keep that into where you can just go to quest to quest and not have to
without
talk
having
and pick it
to
up.
talk to someone about it first. That kind of stuff is really important, just to make that stuff work well when you know what you're doing.
Yeah, you said something this morning that stuck with me, where you said Path of Exile is a game where the player's meta knowledge is allowed and encouraged.
Absolutely. So
you're allowed to cheat the quests.
Effectively, So effectively, there's what the character knows and there's what the player knows, and in our game, what the player knows needs to be sufficient as far as being able to progress the storyline. If you don't want to have it so you just talk to an NPC just to find out something you already knew as a player.
If you kill this boss, you get the next area's waypoint, so you just kill it, log out, log in, waypoint, right?
I love doing that.
Meta knowledge.
Sure.
Yeah. So you explained to me the other day the kind of the context for the beast and how that leads into the cutscene in the beginning of PoE 2 from PoE 1, and that I think helped put it in a lot more perspective for me and made me appreciate and understand what's going on with the story.
So effectively, what you're seeing in the opening cutscene is effectively the a new seed of a beast that is going to be is growing. Now in PoE 1, the beast was killed. And then what happened in response to that is a bunch of all of the gods in the world were able to effectively rise again. And you killed a bunch of them, but there are more, in the world. And effectively, we don't want to spoil too much about the storyline overall, but effectively, obviously someone here, the Count is wanting to harness the power of the beast once again. And then we have the mysterious figure there who is saying, no, don't do this. This always turns out badly.
There was a comment in chat that I loved that was stop opening Eldritch boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do people keep doing this?
Yeah.
But I would.
If someone handed you a mysterious orb, wouldn't you press the button?
I mean,
there's a puzzle box.
Exactly.
What's inside?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm going to try, but who knows how many hours it's going to take me.
Indeed.
So we had a fun moment earlier where you were watching it and you were like, "Oh, we really need to rename that passive because he's a Karui and it's a wolf. It's called a wolf.
Great Wolf's Howl. And the Great Wolf obviously being
so he went out there.
Ismite history.
He started telling him.
I stomped out of the room. And I was like, we need to rename that notable. He's Karui. And then I was kindly reminded that actually he was...
An orphan who...
orphan and was adopted by a Ismite and raised. And so, yes, there is a mixture of Karui and Ismite background. And I was like...
It works? You were wrong?
Fair enough. I walked back in here all sad and whatever. My bad. It's fine. The name is good.
He looked so chastised when he came back in. But that just, like... points to the fact that I feel like you're doing a lot more with the characters here.
For sure.
You even mentioned that ascendancy stuff is going to have an impact story-wise.
So, like with
that's wild.
We just think a lot about this kind of stuff. So the acolyte of, and I always get this name wrong. The acolyte of is it Chalula? Chayula. I always say this wrong. The acolyte of Chayula, for example. So that we have this sort of storyline with the origins of the monks, where there's like an order of monks who worship a thing they call the Dreamer, and the Dreamer is actually Chayula. So they don't know this. So they're effectively worshipping a breach demon. So the acolyte of Chayula is effectively you embracing the fact that I'm worshipping a breach demon. I'm just going to go all the way.
I'm in too deep now.
Yeah, exactly. we're just gonna do it. So there's a lot of thinking like that goes into these things. Like what is the history of these people? Like because I think a lot of that stuff inspires interesting mechanics as well. So for example, on that one, you've got that into the breach skill, which kind of means you're always in a breach all the time. You can see the things going on. Like that stuff is. I think that there's a lot of cool inspiration there. So coming up with that storyline stuff for that stuff,
there's a couple other little things that I think is cool as well, and hopefully people will notice and pay attention to. So there's one of the bosses that was shown as uses a lot of time or chronomancy, and interestingly, if you are a sorceress and you ascend to chronomancer and you then go to fight that boss, if you, for example, try to use time freeze, the boss is like, that doesn't work on me. And has a dialogue line. And if you cast temporal chains on them, he's like, just puts it back on you. And it's like, And so there's interesting things like that. And it doesn't like change things on a grand scale, right? It doesn't make a certain class not viable or anything like that. But there's just interesting little quirks and quips everywhere. Different bosses have different intro lines depending on what class you're playing. They have different skill lines sometimes depending on what class you're playing.
Yeah, we've got different dialogue all through the campaign for different classes. Like the sorceress is obviously from the Maraketh. When she goes back to the Maraketh, there's kind of a little backstory there about how she was banished originally. So she needs to find a way to she needs to be accepted back into their culture again. Like we've got things like the character we talked about earlier. So the warrior, was an orphan. He was brought up by actually one of the NPCs in Act 1 town. So obviously there's a whole different dialogue there.
Oh, that's neat.
His adopted son.
I like how they
things like that.
morphed it.
There's a lot of thought that's gone into it, just trying to make it feel like all these character classes have some level of involvement with the world, they didn't just come into existence the moment that you...
There's other little things. So like more on the narrative side, obviously we saw the world map. You have the icons that show different things that are in each act, like all the things you want to explore, find, and awesome. But each of them also has a little bit of a kind of little bit of text on them as well. And like, for example, there's one in one of the first areas in the game that's just like a camp of Iron Count guards. And, we showed it in a trailer when the Ranger class trailer we did, whenever it was. You saw the Ranger kill some of them because they were trying to like hurt a child, and the child was just trying to get some food. And the Ranger just like snipes them with arrows and kills them ruthlessly. And so you read this thing and you're like, you hear whispers of an Iron Count, scouting party that was slain by a rogue archer or something like that. So you get these little things where we're like connecting a lot of little dots, and even that you absorb a little bit of interesting little information. You've got other things, for example, when you enter an area, it not only says the name at the top now, it has almost a subtitle text that's giving you a little bit of history. And these little things like somehow make the world building feel so much better. And when you approach certain landmark rooms and you walk into them, you'll get a banner at the top as well, which says what it is and gives, again, a little bit of a thing. And all these little micro narrative delivery mechanisms like make you feel way more immersed in the world and way more aware of what's going on and way more connected to your character, way more connected to the bosses, to the NPCs. It's yeah, there's a lot we're doing now that we certainly never did before. We didn't even think of before. But yeah, it's
I like
it's
that
awesome.
a lot because like as an action RPG gamer, I don't really care too much about plot, but I do want a really cool world to be blowing monsters up in. Basically, that's all I want the characters to be cool, I want the baddies to be cool, and I want like the things happening around me that like
I like the whole
build out a bit of that
the
story
whole,
without me
the
having to
whole
stop killing stuff.
hierarchy of everything
And
as far
it
as
sounds
like
there's more of that going
the
on.
story.
Which is great.
Story's got to be good.
The baddies being cool. I mean, that's
and everything else is gonna be great. You
That's
know
how
what I
we
mean?
almost designed an ascendancy class in here
Yeah,
just before when we were.
I
watching
like
the
to just
trailer.
blast myself.
So what you were saying?
But
a
I
shadow.
do
You came
like
up
I'm
with a
like
shadow-
him. I
shadow
want to be in a
ascendancy.
world where I'm still immersed. I'm like, man,
internally,
this
some
looks so
developers
cool.
watching the
as I'm
trailer yesterday,
blasting.
getting excited about
Right.
it, and then I was like, I want to play that. I want to play that character. I want to be that.
I mean,
character.
my first playthrough,
That's
I
awesome.
will be
That
paying
like
attention
kind
to
of
it.
Val
Right.
Thaumaturge type character, and so like
Cool.
all of a sudden it's like
And
we
War
should make
Frenzy,
that a class.
you better be
And
streaming
then we
it.
had another guy like suggest it should be a shadow,
I
and
probably
so now
will
I'm
be.
like, oh yeah, we're definitely come on, we have to do a Val Thaumaturge like shadow
sick.
ascendancy.
Needs
like,
to hurry up.
That's gonna be cool. You
Now
can do
needs to hurry up even more.
awesome things now. Even I know it's hard to see because you hide it under all
This
the
is too
armor, but
much
you
of a
can do things
teaser.
like,
You know what I mean?
you know, with our character
Man.
classes, just due to the upgrades and models, where all of a sudden now the character can have tattoos added to them and stuff like that is completely feasible
nice.
in the future. And like, I want to do a lot
We're
more
almost
of that stuff.
2
like,
weeks away.
for the
Yep.
there's little things like for the Warbringer, I think was the class name on the
2
warrior.
weeks away.
When you take that ancestral
Tomorrow will be
totem
2
node,
weeks.
all your totems
Yeah.
now have like an extra blue glow to them, kind of like they're enhanced by this ancestral magic. And what we also want to do is add tattoos as well that like glow blue when you're using certain skills and all that. So heaps of little things that again connect all the culture and all that stuff together and make you feel like, you know, it's believable as opposed and this is a character as opposed to this is just a mechanic and you know.
Makes picking an ascendancy more epic. I know that there was a part in the trailer that was like not fully finished where you
Yeah,
ascend
the-
and it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah,
but I know you want it to be
PlayStation.
like a
I
cool
see
moment
people
where
in
some power
comments.
goes
Yeah,
into you.
PlayStation still got
the effects,
kind
yeah.
of where
Even the another one, the
basically
Blood
they're
Mage,
stuck on
when you,
PlayStation.
like,
Their stuff
you know,
can't.
play the Blood Mage
can't
now
play
you
the
can
same
additive
account
surge
on
on your
multiple
character
stuff.
whenever you cast spells.
But you
getting,
can,
almost
but you
blood
can't have the
bending kind of
cause
vibe going on, and, like,
transactions
drawing
stuff.
from their
Yeah.
veins
True.
and
Because
setting a
Sony
firewall.
Sony wouldn't sit there and give in or
Yeah.
let them.
Yeah,
they won't let
Sony's
them
a
Yeah,
do
you
it.
can have like the
piece of
tattoos
trash.
get tattooed on them as they ascend and things like that. I mean, that just
I have
makes
never really
taking
liked
ascendancy
or
way more
cared
cool.
for
Which is,
Sony
it's
too
already, I
much.
think, I almost feel like ascendancy is more important than the classes for players kind of like feeling the vibe of what they want to do with their character. Like,
For sure.
I
'cause
kind of
I
agree
mean,
with
the
it.
classes are pretty open. You can
I
play
kind of
whatever
agree
skills,
with
whatever
it.
weapon. Sure, you're on a passive tree at a start point, but quite high level, kind of using jewels, especially getting off class stuff, you
Appreciate
can
the
kind of be
subscribe.
whatever you want with the base class.
Yeah.
So eventually, yeah, the ascendancy is what becomes more of that important identifying feature because that's what you have actually chosen that makes you distinct. That another different class wouldn't be able to actually have. So yeah.
so you want to make that super cool. And on that note, I know I was definitely confused. I know people were definitely confused and a little worried about ascendancy and what's happening with that. And people were like watching the Sekima trial and being like, oh, what if I don't like this? Oh, is this another lab again? But I want you to like lay it out as like simply as possible. Like how do you ascend?
Yeah, so effectively, in the full game, there's going to be 3 ascendancy trials. For early access, there's 2. And effectively, you can use any of those ascendancy trials to be able to do your ascension.
You choose.
You choose which one. And effectively, if you as you get to higher level keys for those trials, that will unlock more points. Like if you do it at certain level breakpoints, that will allow you to get more points for those classes. So if you want to just play the entire, just only the Trial of the Chaos God, with
So you can play which one you
know,
want
to get all
to.
the points, then you can just decide to do that. Just play it at higher and higher levels, and you get more points as you go through. You know, if you want to do a mix, that's fine too. Personally, I think people will want to try out all the different content. I mean, you might think that you, but even within the trials, there's choices, right? Like, I know that there's always contention around traps, but because in the because in the trial of the Sekimas, you can choose which rooms you want
You
to
know
go
I
to.
hate traps.
If you don't want to deal with traps, you just don't pick those rooms, right? Like,
you don't go into the gauntlet
don't go
rooms.
to the gauntlet rooms. You can just go to other things.
Do
and
the combat
Do
ones.
the combat ones, and that's fine too. So effectively, it's like you always get to choose like what you're doing there. Like it's funny because like I know traps are so
You can
contentious,
actually,
but
that's kind of cool.
also
though.
there are
So
other
they
people who
have
just
it
enjoy
both
that stuff.
ways
So,
for
you know,
people
you
that
wanna
like
have something.
traps and people don't.
Right.
There's these like
Path of Exile, divisive content, but lots of choice, and you
I
can
like
choose
the
what to do
yeah,
and what not
he
to
hit
do,
it.
and then we're embracing that here
I love
now.
it that we can choose whatever the hell we want.
Now you have well, I mean, such a competitive advantage in that.
That's
going to
appeal to everybody.
And even with PoE2, that's still going to be the case. So you can lean into that, like making content that is spicier but divisive.
For sure.
And now you're like separating trees and having these things be a little able to be focused on a lot more. And you're doing that with the trial, with the ascendancies. So and you can kind of do all of them and drip feed yourself smaller progression if you want.
And there's also stuff that you're going to be getting from those, like specific rewards and everything that might incentivize you to do that. But of course, on the other hand, if you don't want to do that content, we have full open trade, right? You can just trade for the rewards, and that's fine too. So you know, like that's always part of the
Yes, like the rewards there, for example, like jewels drop throughout the world. But if you want to get more jewels, you go and run Sanctum. Now, if you want to get the Radius jewels, you do, well, it's Sanctum, I can't. Trial of the Sycamore.
So just for anyone who isn't a Path of Exile 1 player, this is
I was
effectively
calling
a
it
sequel
Sanctum.
to Sanctum League that
Right.
did in Path of Exile 1. So it's mechanically very similar, but it's obviously, you know, a Marraketh, you know, like a Marraketh trial now, and, you know, we've changed it. A lot of things about it have changed, and all, like the content is new, but it is effectively the same overall mechanic, you know, in terms of that sort of roguelike mechanic that we have.
And it's the same with the other one. You have Ultimatum and PoE 1 being the theme, and of course now it's redesigned and it's evolved into Trial of Chaos. So yeah, a lot of people in chat would have been spamming Ultimatum, and for those who haven't played, would probably be like, "What? I don't understand."
Yeah, effectively, the Trial of the Chaos of Chaos is a sequel to Ultimatum. Which is
and we just have to get used to the new names, which is very hard. But yeah, anyway, the point being, like, of course, and Val Orbs drop in the world as well, and if you want a larger dose of Val Orbs, and, you know, you don't want to trade, feel free to run some ultimatums. Thing is, because they're all item-generated keys as well, it's not like you have to do it right then and there. You can trade the keys away. At any point, you can also buy more keys if you want to farm more of that thing. And if you just want to do it later, just stockpile a bunch of them, run them all at your leisure. You know what I mean? It's like you have the freedom. They are itemized, tradable, as a lot in Path of Exile tradition. But
well, as is everything, right? We do the only thing you can't trade is gold. So we're like the exact opposite of most games, where it's like the gold is freely tradable and the items get locked. We're like the gold is the only thing you can't trade, and every other item is free and open.
Yeah, and that's because you've made gold be this like way to be like you're playing the game, so you have access to this, and
absolutely,
so you don't want to trade that away.
Effectively,
So how on the ascendancies and the trials, how hard do you foresee getting your ascendancy to be while leveling? Do you expect people to fail out and attempt these things multiple times, and what does that look like if you do?
Well, I failed.
It's going to be multiple times.
It is important to know that first itemized key is a quest key, and we have special rules around it that if you do fail, you can just repeat it, right?
You changed that recently because that was something that I didn't.
That was a very smart decision.
I guess it was a little bit too harsh to require to get another one.
Yeah, you weren't the only one failing it.
Yeah.
So pretty much you get to reattempt it, and you know,
at least they play the game just like you said.
You know, just to immediately start thinking of exploits. It's like, I can just do 3 of the waves, then intentionally fail, and then repeat them. Well, we've thought of that. Don't worry. You can't. But, the first ones are repeatable. You're not going to be like, you know, oh, what the heck, now I have to just play to the whims of random generation to ascend? Like that.
Right.
Yeah. So
it is pretty hard, though. Like, it'll take. I definitely don't think you'll do it on your first attempt. But,
I did. Not to brag. I did. I did pass on. I was clenched though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, especially in that boss fight.
I was watching him do the boss fight.
You came by right as I was doing the boss fight.
But you had some like kind of powerful boons there, to be perfectly honest. So.
I got 60% move speed. But that was part of my strategic choice.
I was watching you from. I'm like, how is he so fast?
This isn't the PoE2 design.
I was like, what was dodge rolls going acroross half the arena?
This game's supposed to be slow. It was good. It was good fun. I quite liked it. I like mostly like Sanctum. I don't want to do it all the time, but I did quite like the Trial of Sycamore. But knowing that there's other choices, so I can do Ultimatum instead or something like that is fun.
100%.
So you've got these like 2 roguelike dungeons that are going into the beta that launch, but they're done very differently. One's got the honor system, which is like a separate health, but it's based on and scaled by your health, which I noted as quite
and your defenses
interesting.
now. It can be fully mitigated and everything.
So fully scaled by your character. You go in a tanky character, you'll be tanky in the dungeon, which is really cool. So
and then with Ultimatum, and just because people will ask, in Ultimatum there aren't any traps.
Yes.
So that's the
no
thing
traps and
that's
ultimatum, and no honor system and ultimatum. If
Correct.
you just want more of a pure combat
correct.
experience, then that's your choice. And then there's going to be a third one as well, which
they will eventually.
is a secret for now.
So once Act 4 goes in,
that's not
then
too long.
right? We'll have
which will probably be in.
trial.
We'll get
So,
Act 4, I'm sure.
People sort of broadly know that the crew
No,
Act 4.
but
so
yeah,
because they're going to wait and do all 3.
Is the question there?
Yes, and if there's any other
Oh
things.
no. Yeah, you're right. Because for release, that's whenever they're going to take away Kroll.
How likely that is to be related.
I'm just thinking
So
now.
it'll
Just
be
thinking of
on
that
release.
Vile Thaumaturge class before, and I'm already thinking like, oh, it'd be so cool if you ascend an ultimatum. We want the Trial Master to say different lines to you because you're like choosing the way of the Vile. I can't stop thinking about all this stuff.
I did hear a few of his lines in some of the gameplay Jonathan was showing me. It was quite good. I love that he's back, the Trial Master.
Yeah, he's cool.
Good. A little salty sometimes that you're taking this power, it seems. So we have the unique rewards from each of them. We got like the like you said, the jewels are global, but there are unique jewels, and then there are unique socketables from the other one.
Yep.
And there's something planned to be unique from the final third trial that will be added later?
Of course.
Yes, there is already. Secret. I know what I'm not going to say. Don't worry.
Okay. Keep some secrets. Fine then.
Yeah. Again, I value the discovery, right? I'm certainly if I accidentally say it, it is certainly by mistake. But yes, don't.
And that Vile Orbs from the Ultimatum in particular they seem like they're a lot more important, a lot more powerful.
I mean, I certainly think that like some of the stuff is a lot better with how they work. So So one of the things that we wanted to change was that implicits on items are truly implicit. Like you can't get rid of them; they stay there. And so that means that when you do a Vile Orb, the mod that you get there now is an addition to whatever implicit already had, which is obviously good. And then the next one being that you can get plus one socket above the normal limit, which is also kind of powerful. So especially with the Soul Cores, so that in the Trial of Chaos, you get soul cores that you can't get from anywhere else, and those effectively are mods that are typically a bit beyond what you would normally get like on regular items, whereas runes, which kind of drop everywhere, those ones are just kind of normal everyday mods that you would expect to find on any
Resists
kind of item.
and things
just
like
resists and damage and that kind of stuff. So effectively the soul cores is is kind of the more end gamey socketables that you might want to be using. And obviously being able to get plus one socket, I mean it's something that everyone will want, but on the other hand there is that risk of just bricking your item. So that's the deadly gamble you have as your final crafting step there.
It's they are Vile Orbs are more forgiving though.
They are, yeah.
But like if you think about we talked about enchantment, so some slots you might value the enchantment over a rune or a socket slot, right? That probably, especially towards end game, I'd say that's probably going to tilt that way because maybe a soul core contests with it, but the whole point is that there's choice there involved. And then there's enchantment. We just talked about the socket. There's obviously always the case of doing nothing, which happens. But for just say regular rare items, it will re-roll like 1 to 3 modifiers at random. Effectively, do a chaos orb on 1 to 3 modifiers, not all 6. And as much as that can often be a downside, because if you're using it on a very good item, obviously it's going to take away the good ones.
Interesting.
But if you're using it on a mid item, you can actually turn it very good. And I've had this happen. Like when I've been playing, I've got like this is life, defense, double res, and something else that I don't want. And I'm like, I'll just start valing everything because why not? I've got my Vile Orbs and I val it and it re-rolls that bottom mod into a tri-res, and now I got a tri-res double defense life helmet, and I was like, yo, awesome. So even that, which can often be perceived as a bad outcome, now isn't going to completely brick your item. And so, for example, if you have a weapon, you got your 3 damage mods, and you got some bad suffixes, it could even be an option, or hopefully it doesn't just remove all 3 damage mods, whereas before it's like if it bricked it often was almost always a brick, right? Like that item is now dead. So.
And then you told me about a new unique result, which I don't know if you want to spoil or not.
100%.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's so cool.
I'm surprised you even got that one past Rishi, honestly.
I mean, he got it made.
Okay, great.
We discussed it. I agree.
That's too bad.
I agree. I messaged it to him thinking he'll be like, no way, this is unacceptable. But
Just
no,
tell
he was all for it.
It didn't turn into a dexterity chat.
Yeah.
And so, what it effectively does is it just takes the mod values and it it goes up to I can't remember exactly the values, but let's just say it
Said it was between...
changes all the values to between 0.8 and 1.2 of what they were multiplied, but it doesn't care about the minimum and maximums. So, for example, if you had 1,000 life Helm's Heart, you can use this to get, again, this is me assuming it's 20% variance, but because I can't remember what we balanced it to, but you'll be able to get a 1,200 life Helm's Heart, for example. Now that's obviously giving up the enchantment and a socket. Just thinking about sockets on Helm's Heart. I can't remember what we did, but whatever. I think you can actually do that, which is interesting. But ultimately, it's like, now I'm choosing, do I want the enchantment? Do I want an extra, 100 something, 200 life, whatever that ends up being? Or do I want the socket? So it's quite an interesting choice and adds an extra axis of corruption to unique items that is, I think...
Corrupted divining of uniques. Interesting.
Yeah, effectively, it's divining them, but with higher maximums and lower minimums.
Surely there's going to be some broken things like max res or something like that.
I mean, we'll guess we'll find out.
Yeah, cross that bridge when it comes to it. Yeah.
It's fine.
So that was all just talking about the trials, how you actually get your ascendancies. But what about the actual ascendancies themselves? How are they cooking?
Well, they're fun. They're cool. We certainly try to get what we've tried to do is for the classes we've tried to have one that's a bit more out there.
Yeah.
Something that isn't just like. If you think even about in PoE 1, you've got the duelist, and you can go like champion or slayer or holy words I don't remember, but you know the drill. And the gladiator. And the problem is like, okay, they're all just about like hitting stuff with weapons, and they haven't. There's nothing really out there. Sure, they all sound cool. Like, don't get me wrong, and they can be cool, and they do have differences, but there's nothing that's like kind of crazy. So all of a sudden now when you're like, sorceress, you're using all your elemental skills, and now you can just like go into this thing that can stop time. It's a little bit more crazy, and you've got the mercenary, and you can turn into a gemling legionnaire and like, effectively fuse gems into your flesh to like, mutate yourself. It's like not just talking about crossbows and projectiles over and over and over and over again. It's like doing kind of whack stuff. So I really like that. That's awesome, and we're going to make sure every single class has one thing that is like definitely out there, and then one thing that's more predictable, more to the expectation of the trope. For example, the Deadeye to the Ranger, and but yeah, lots and lots of cool interactions, just cool playing with different mechanics, and we've tried to make them like, for example, none of them call out a weapon, right? None of them. So we're trying to make sure that they're broad enough to be that. You might be a ranger going a Deadeye, but playing a caster, right?
Yeah.
Playing spells, like keeping all of that open, that flexibility, that kind of crazy, for the Johnny players, as we call it, out there who want to just completely experiment and figure out, the most broken, weird stuff, and you get things with that when you're still like, okay, I'm a ranger. And I'm using a Quill Rain in one weapon set, spec'd into a bunch of prod speed, attack speed, and in my second weapon set I'm using a Spellcaster Staff with a bunch of projectile stuff, and I'm invested into more spell damage side, and you've got a whack tree, and all of a sudden now you're this like Deadeye, Archer, Spellcaster, Mage hybrid doing all kinds of wacky stuff, or like even, or let's say the same build and experimenting with a bunch of triggers. And so you're using your bow as a Quill Rain as a high attack speed delivery mechanism for, laying down a bunch of either CCs or slows or building up crowd controls, and then you're using the caster stuff. And like,
so it said you haven't?
Pretty out there things going
on.
I'm going
on Path to
the important
Exile
thing is it's
2
not
early
like
access
just like benefiting only
it
arrows
says
or only bow attacks or
your
anything
account
like
does not
that.
have access
It's
to Path
broad
to
and now
Exile 2 early
opens up the
access.
world to what you can do.
Damn.
And same like the Gemling
So I'm
Legionnaire
gonna
on
check.
the mercenary
I
is
know I've
entirely
spent.
just
I already know
gem
too.
slots, skills, support, zero. There's no. You don't have to be anything. You can be literally whatever build
I have
you
all
want.
these packs, the Eldritch Supporter
and yeah,
pack,
so
the Solar
that's
Guardian
embracing
support
that,
pack,
making sure
Midnight
that people
support
still,
pack,
even though we have all these
Eldritch
classes,
support pack,
we're embracing that path of
Elemency
Exile. You can
support
do
pack,
anything
Hellfire support
fantasy
pack,
that we want people to
Hellfire
be able to
support
do.
pack.
And
yeah,
if you don't want to,
there's
go
so
with
many
the
support
trope,
packs.
perfectly fine.
All the times
and
about
still
the
be
Carrots
powerful.
It sounds like you're really
Pass.
trying to avoid that thing that we've had a couple times in PoE 1 where like a certain niche is relegated to one ascendancy. Like that's the only way to go for it.
sure.
But it sounds like that's not going to be the case here.
Well,
quite
at
as
least
much.
if we're doing our job right, that should be the case. Yeah.
And with so many of the ascendancies as well. Got a lot of choices. Originally, the plan was to like have all of the PoE 1 ascendancies
Where'd you see that
available,
on?
and it was some
Just
sort of
go
weird
to
split
the
campaign
account?
stuff and all that.
I just
I
went
don't
to
really know
my
at this point. It's a bit confusing.
Path to
You mentioned
Exile,
Deadeye
and then
though, so
went
it sounds
to-
like
yeah.
some of them are coming forwards.
I
But is it
clicked
all
on my
just being
name
It's
at
more
redone at this
the
point?
At this point, at this point they'll just be different, right? Like originally, way back when we were planning on just keeping the ascendancies as they were and putting them over. But at this point, that wouldn't even be good enough because like it doesn't fit the kind of like Path of Exile 2
Clicked on my name.
way of designing this thing. So I mean,
Or
like we
not
might have a
manage
class with
account.
the Deadeye, and it might have the same themes.
When you're on your,
but
when you
it'll
click
be,
on
like,
your name,
different
you go
actual
to
mechanics.
view transactions.
I mean,
Actually,
even
when you
the
click on
Deadeye,
your
you got
name,
Tailwind,
see,
works
Path of
differently. You've
Exile
still got
2
an
early
additional
access
projectile.
right there.
You know, like there are things that certainly carry over, but it's really easy, and it's honestly been fun just looking at them going like, you know, now we have all these system changes, all these skills, and everything works like this. Just what would the perfect class be? Not like how can we retrofit and band-aid a PoE 1 class to work. It's just way better to look at it and go, here's all the things we want. Yeah. So, well, yeah, like when you only have now the life and mana flask and stuff, it can
I just got on there.
things don't work quite the same. But then now you have the
You
charm
say
system,
click
and
on
all of a
your
sudden
name?
if
I
you
actually
did
do
have
wonder
that,
if
you could,
Pathfinder would be cool with that.
Exactly.
Like stacking charms.
So it's just here are, you know, 12, eventually 36 classes. It's not really like here's the PoE 1 counterpart and they're identical kind of thing anymore, for sure. Too many things changed for that to even be possible anyway.
Yeah. All right. That sounds very epic. We can skip over the flasks and trinkets as we did cover that.
Actually,
very
the
well.
pack
so,
I bought
moving
was
into
240. I might be
skills, I realized I like had many pages of questions here, and then I was like, wait, we haven't even talked about like skills here.
I mean, when I get paid anyways, I'm probably going to be buying the $60 on the first, the $60 pack bundle.
I mean, it's certainly getting there. I mean,
that
look,
comes
there
with
are
that
even
one skin
certain
we
skills
saw,
that won't even
the
make it. Even just
red
within the classes
one.
we have, like there are still going to be some more skills coming later on as well for these classes.
It comes with the key
there are
anyways.
more skills.
I mean,
that we
I'm
got,
buying that
just about
anyways,
there,
no matter
and,
what.
Yeah,
So what, the key?
Didn't quite make it.
Well, I'm buying the
so,
pack
yeah,
and the keys
like
and the
getting
pack.
a class
Oh, right,
fresh into
yeah.
the skills you need, like it sort of
Just in
seems
case I
very
don't
easy
have-
when
'cause
you
I want that skin.
like, okay, we need like 22,
The one that had
23,
that
24,
bird thing with the
number of
bow.
skills, something like that. And it seems like that's not so many, and you kind of design them. But when you actually come up with all of the things, you know, the way they interact together, you know, the number of prototypes you have
I'm
to do
looking
that
at
kind of
mine.
don't
It
really
says
work. And, you know,
200
like,
point pack, 200 point
not being
pack,
fun.
100 point
And
pack.
then, of course, the support gem stuff. Like you need to make sure that every skill
see, the
has
200
enough
point ones
viable
are
support so that you
$20
can actually even
each.
recommend people to be
Yeah.
able to do. Then you need
I got
things
one,
like the
two
you
of
know the
those,
passive tree
that's
support for all of them. You need to
three,
have all
four.
of
it says view
the stuff with like
microtransactions.
buff
Oh.
the buff gems for each character class as well. You know, you need to be thinking about uniques for the type of you know, for the that can work with these things. It's just like there's so many different elements to actually make skills work, and once again, it's another area I think that was underestimated to some degree before, and you know, like it does take a you know, like to actually get that finished,
Where
it
does
takes
it
a lot.
say? Okay.
So yeah, that's been a total struggle. And we
okay.
didn't think we would have to
Yeah,
have
it
only
says,
6 character classes initially.
Your
At the
account
start of
does
early
not
access, we were
have
thinking we would have 8
access to Path of Exile
to
2
begin
early
with.
access.
But yeah, when it
Browse
actually
your
came
friend
down to
who has
actually
a
getting to
spare
actually
or
finish
purchase
something, you know, like it just ended up being too much. So you know, now obviously we've got a bunch. I mean, we've got a bunch of work on more of the classes that we've done. You know, there's things there, but it's that finishing work of like making sure that all the
I need to
systems in
figure
the
out
game
a
come
way, 'cause
together
I think
to
there's a way
support
that you can
you know,
actually
how
see how
that
much you
works.
spent, but-
That requires a lot.
Doing all of that as we're still
I was
discovering
looking through
how
my
we want those
transactions,
systems to
so,
work.
I
You know,
know.
like the changes to support gems and all that. As we're also making support gems, as we're making character
Same
classes,
time,
just can
it's not out till
cause
the
things to
6th,
slow
and
down
I'll
quite a
be
bit,
getting paid
and then we have to
on the
recalibrate.
first.
And
I'm
all,
getting that
yeah,
first
like,
pack
it
anyways,
was
that
an
$60 bundle when it
extreme
has it,
amount of
so-
work that we
Because
certainly
I remember I did
predicted poorly. But
couple of the
that was also because
24 I
we
did like a
are making
48
all these
under.
cool systems to all these changes
I
to all these
remember that.
systems, which are having like immense benefits as
Weird.
well. So
For sure.
yeah, I would say it's pretty safe to expect that, you know, as much as you can't play them on day 0, some of those other classes that we have shown in the past, and some of the skills and stuff, there's a lot there. Like, just not to make it seem like it's shallow or anything, but we will be adding those classes in for sure.
Yeah, the thing that keeps like surprising me is, well, when you click that All Gems tab when you're doing an uncut, there's quite a lot of skills in there, but you initially kind of box yourself away where you think, okay, so I'm playing the mercenary, so I'm just looking at the crossbow skills. And then I was like, well, what if I go look at the elemental skills? And then I find Flame Wall, and I'm like, oh, I can shoot my projectiles through that. Okay, cool. I like that, but that's like surface level, because you also have the weapon swap thing, and that you can actually viably do with the automated weapon swapping. It's not like Toxic where you have to push
Well, at least
the
you
button
can purchase this stuff now.
and you've
It's
got
in
the
the
trees
shop.
that like customize when
Yeah, I
you do
just
it
don't have
automatically on the
money
fly.
till the
That's like all of a sudden I'm like,
oh yeah, I hear you. I'm just
why
saying.
can't I
At
use
least
a
I know that
sword
it's
on
already
one
in
hand?
there.
You absolutely
That's
can
actually
do
a very
other stuff.
cool mercenary vibe, sword and crossbow.
You can already start using
So yeah, I mean that stuff is like is crazy. I mean, like in the actually there was one in the community guys recorded where they were using a bell, the bell skill with the quarterstaff with the rapid shot mercenary skill. And when I saw it, I was like, oh man, that's like that's like a whole other thing. Yeah, like that I didn't even know about that particular combo until I saw it in the some of the footage they recorded.
I started thinking about that too with like multiplayer, and I was like, so I was throwing my gas grenades, which you can blow up with your explosive grenades, but then I was throwing it at a boss that was doing burning ground, and they were blowing up instantly. I'm like, oh wait, so it reacts to the environment. Well, it's obviously going to react to my friends doing burning ground then.
Oh yes,
so
and
my flame wall friend.
And this is the reason. Like this conversation here is the reason why there's going to be crazy builds that we don't anticipate, because like some of the stuff that can happen between classes, I just have no doubt we will not have discovered.
Like how much co-op have you really been able to test?
I mean, we do test party play all the time. Like, and Mark's like,
but to find all those,
I'm the support character player. Now I'm like freezing, armor breaking, putting down clouds, slow. I'm like, holy, there's just a lot going on all of a sudden. I'm not just standing there like I got buffs coming out of me. It's like you're like. I'm actually doing all this active support and like different conditions to synergize with the group, and how it's like, oh, okay, you're doing that skill. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do this and enhance my armor breaking and go ballistic armor breaking, and you just spam your thing that consumes it. So you get a lot of that stuff going on for sure. Where but it's kind of honestly the terrifying part as well, where it's like. What do we have? We had the whole like vulnerability curse with gas cloud ticks or something, and it was like literally applying armor break like every frame, and so you have the monsters going ting 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 ting.
Then you
ting,
have
ting,
armor explosion on there as well.
I don't know how to use
some other thing. You have some other guy consuming it, and again, oh my god, cool rain. Just don't how many bloody synergistic things with cool rain.
Just, you can do a lot with that.
All the lightning arrows on the ground, and because they can, lightning things hit them and explode, and all of a sudden now everyone's running around with cool rain, spamming lightning rods everywhere, and.
Yeah,
and Frostwall. Somehow Frostwall had about 15 abuse cases, and
I mean that's historically accurate.
Yeah, true.
Kinetic blast Frostwalls and all that. It returns. Sounds like it's coming back.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It's cool. Even finding all the stuff so far has been really fun. But yeah, I generally play multiplayer. Most of the alpha I've done is being in multiplayer. I play with other people. It's good to get a lot of that testing in there as well, because not a lot of others do it.
That's really good.
And then try and see what we can break, just for good fun. Honestly, the thing